Kenneth Dean,
Hello, Mayor.
you're on the hot seat.
I see. Come on with it. Mayor, before where's everybody? There he is. You're here. Before turning it over to Miss Dana, we got all the department heads in the room. And I just want to take a moment to thank the elected body and thank the department heads for all their hard work. Not only the last year, since the tornado in December, pandemic, other things we deal with, but also what they've done over the last couple of years. And also thank the commission for your efforts in stepping up and supporting us so much with a lot of the needs that we've got. So just want to thank you for that. And dinner's served for anybody who wants anything to eat. And with that, I'll turn it over to Miss Dana.
Thanks, Kitty. I didn't know I had an intro song.
Perfect
Very
timing,
cool.
wasn't it?
All right.
Oh,
Okay,
Of all things, potential spam.
That is not my intro song. So I thought what we'd start with is just kind of like we did last year, the sky view of the budget, and then we'll get into the details with the departments. But I put together a PowerPoint, which you guys can follow along up here if you want to, or you have a copy of it in front of you. So just to give you an idea of where I'm estimating that we're starting at as far as fund balance goes, I'm estimating 58.8 million. And just to give you an idea of how we're doing this year to date, our revenues to date are 33.8 million, which are exceeding our budget by 6.7 million already. Expenditures to date are 23.2 out of the 36.3 that's budgeted. And our current revenues exceed our actual current expenditures by 12.6 million. So we'll be adding a considerable amount to what I'm estimating the fund balance to be. So that's why it's 58 million. This gives you an idea of the revenues. So I'm estimating 44 million in revenues. Local taxes make up about 50% of that almost, at 21 million. Permits and fees come in at 4.6, fines and forfeitures almost $1 million, grants 10.4, and intergovernmental revenue of 6.2, and then a very small amount of miscellaneous revenue. The local taxes, those include the sales tax, property tax, beer and liquor taxes, intergovernmental revenue, that's 6.2. That includes things like state shared taxes. And then permits and fees, that's the building, electrical, plumbing fees, plan review fees, park rentals. And then the grants are, there's two big ones in there. One is the TDEC and the other is the ARPA grant. This gives you an idea of the highlights, just some revenue highlights. The property tax rate in the budget is still set at 11 cents and should generate about 2.2 million. Our state shared revenues, $125.30 per capita, which should be about 4.92 million. Sales tax, I'm estimating at 16 million. I'm actually still pulling off of what our actuals are this year just to have that cushion because I don't know what's economically coming. So in actual sales tax revenue this year, I'm projecting almost 18 million. The grants, like I mentioned, there's $430,000 that we just received from TDEC for the Hamilton-Denson Park, and then 10 million in the SLFRF, which is the state and local fiscal recovery funds, which is also the ARPA that we talked about last year. We've received half of that in this current fiscal year, and then we'll receive the next half in November, but I'm not recording that in revenue this year because we're not going to allocate those funds until in this budget. And the Department of Treasury came back. Initially, when they issued those funds, they were very restrictive as to what we could use them for, and they were really only fitting in water and sewer infrastructure. But when Treasury released their final rule, they allowed a $10 million standard allowance for revenue loss, whether you had revenue loss or could prove revenue loss or not. And that $10 million could be spent on any government service. So that's why I have put the $10 million in the general fund this year, to make it easier to spend those funds on things that general government services. There's still an additional $987,000 that we have put in the stormwater fund to cover a stormwater infrastructure project that's coming down the pike. The general fund expenditures total $50,985,292, and this just gives you a breakdown of what the totals are for the departments. So for Parks and Rec, 5.7 million, Public Works, 5.6, Community Development is codes and planning, that's 1.9. General government, that's City Hall, basically IT, HR, executive, finance, that's 5.4 million. And then public safety, that includes police and fire and upcoming EMS, that's 21 million. And then transfers out is 11 million. And this just gives you the same expenditure total, just broken down by type of expenditure. So personnel expenditures are 22.9 million. Transfers to capital projects fund, 9.4. The operating expenditures, which is your basic gas, supplies, maintenance, 7.1. The fiscal year 22 carryover expenditures, which are expenditures that are budgeted this fiscal year, but we won't get the items that we've already ordered, or the projects are in process, so those are being carried over to next year, and that totals 5 million. New capital expenditures are 4.8, and then transfers out are just over 800 for the debt service and the state street aid fund. As far as expenditure highlights in the payroll, I have a 6% COLA and a 2% merit. As Commissioner Hefner and I worked together last year on the average salaries, he wanted plus or minus 5% of the average. I set everybody at minus 5% with the intent of having a boost this year, so we weren't impacting the budget as greatly. And then the Social Security Administration came along and did a 5.9% COLA. So I had to kind of adjust that a little bit, but I still think the 6% and the 2% will keep us competitive with our rates. As far as new positions in the budget, there are 33 total, but that does not include adding the EMS. So there's 4 in Public Works, 16 in Fire, 9 in Police, and 4 in the City Hall departments. The capital items, we have 21 new vehicles at 1.2 million, machinery and equipment, roughly 500,000, computer equipment, 200,000, and then there's land in there that's split between the general fund and the sewer fund. So there's 800,000 each, so 1.6 million for land. That's the detailed breakdown on the carryover. 5 vehicles, the Public Works building, which is in process, 2 parks projects, which are in process. The fire truck is 455, that's still not done yet, and then a generator is just being carried over for the police department, and that is in the IT budget. This is the new EMS service that we have put in the budget this year. Estimated revenues are $940,000. We've got 19 personnel positions at 1.1 million. Operating expenditures estimated at 360. Capital 368 for total expenditures of 1.9 million. And that is included in the general fund already in that budget. So just to give you a summary, starting fund balance at 58.8 million with revenues of 44, expenditures of 50.9 gives you an ending fund balance estimated at 51.9 million. This is just a quick summary of the other funds, giving you a beginning balance in each one, the revenues estimated, the expenditures, and then the ending estimated fund balance, which all of them have sufficient fund balances to cover. And then this is just an update on the sewer fund. I am anticipating a 4% rate increase this year. We ended up not doing a rate increase at all last year. So we'll have 4% this year. That should give us operating revenues of 8.7, operating expenses of 8.5, which should give us an income of 185,000. Non-operating revenues at 119, capital contributions 3.1, and overall change in net position of 3.4. And then capital expenses are 11.3 million. And that's it for the PowerPoint. Now we'll dig into just sort of the detail of the budget, and we're gonna start with Rocky.
How we doing, guys? Y'all doing good? That looks pretty easy to me. What we seen up there in Parks, I think I'm good to go. What y'all think? Is everybody on with that? Let's
Thank
take a
you,
vote.
Rocky, for your presentation tonight. We
Yeah,
greatly
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana. I think you made that pretty clear.
All right, what page are you on, Rocky?
That was a good slip.
Oh,
under the
doggone,
rug.
y'all gonna make me stay and read
27,
this?
yes, page 27.
Okay, that didn't work. Plan B. Okay, guys, what we're gonna try to do, what I was gonna do really is just hit on some, the high points of the budget. We tried to stay as pretty much status quo as we could. There's a few things, we're gonna need to add some more money on. As you can see, how the inflation's hitting us on gas prices and stuff. So what I was gonna do, I've got a little thing, I don't know what page y'all are on. I'm on a little executive summary I've got here.
The highlights of it.
We're gonna start at Charlie Daniels Park, 44,700.
Page 3.
Huh?
Page 3 of his highlights is
three.
what he's looking at.
Out of line item 200 contractual services, we've increased that by 69,000 to 120 because we got 4 new parks coming on. That'll be for engineering, development, designing. We found out the hard way last year, we only had 50,000 in there. And the first park I put out to be designed cost me 55. So it busted me all to pieces. So we will be looking at 4 park, with 2 coming on, we'll be needing engineering and development stuff on the designing. And one of those will be now with Hamilton Denson with the restrooms. We've got the EQ Basin land over there. We got Beckwith Road on the Thompson property and the Monday stuff. So that's the reason for that. And stop me if you run into anything.
So
You got
it's
a
all
question?
done by outside contractors, engineering firms?
Sir?
All outside
Yeah.
contractors?
Mhm.
Okay. Nothing that parks, or, sorry, our engineering
Yeah,
staff
we
could-
use them as much as we can, Shane and them. But these are my engineering firms that we use. What they can't answer, we put on these guys. So we'll use them as much as we can. But just to make sure we're covered. Number 324, household and janitorial supplies, we increased by 3,000. What we're doing, we're taking on more restrooms. We got 2 restrooms coming on. I don't know if you noticed, paper towels, toilet paper, everything's going through the roof. So we bumped that to 10,000. I think we take care of what, 8 restrooms? 7, 8 restrooms. And, that's just, again, inflation hits on those.
Maybe we need to look at bidets.
Well, we were thinking about corn cobs. There's a cornfield over next door to Amazon.
Just make sure you soak them first.
New capital request coming out of Charlie Daniels. We're looking for every year we do the Christmas tree lighting down there now. We've been doing that for a couple of years. And we've been bringing in a tree that's been donated. We go through, we bring in public works, bring in heavy equipment, we stand the tree up, it gets knocked down. We come back, we stand it up. What we thought would be a better idea is let's plant about a 30-foot tree. And we've looked into that. It'll be on RTA property down there, same place. Every year we'll have our annual Christmas tree lighting. We'll have a 30-foot blue fir or whatever it's gonna be. The arborist will decide that. But they told us it'll cost around $15,000 to do the tree and the planting. So that's on.
I guess that's not a sapling.
No, sir, no, that's about a 30-foot.
That's only $500 a foot.
It's a big boy. And then we started a new thing at Charlie Daniels, the volleyball. And we started a league there for girls volleyball. It has jumped. It's doing really good. We had over 100 girls between 4th and 8th grade playing this year. It was really good league. They're signing up already for summer. But what we use, we don't have the standard core and the holes for the netting in our gym floor. So we're gonna need to do that to progress with this league and bring it on for summer. We looked into that. That's gonna cost us right at $10,000. They gotta cut through the floor, core the concrete, and set the post. That way we just come out, set the post, put the new net up, and be done. The big things we're using now are they're kinda dangerous to use. So we've been using them, getting by with that, but that's the reason you see that. And that's pretty much all we're looking forward to do at Charlie Daniels. Rest stuff will stay as much status quo as we can from last year.
I noticed on the 325 events, recreational,
you've got 50,000, so 30 and 20, celebrate 50. Is that the only event we're doing next year? Is 50,000 for the
Oh,
50th?
the Celebrate MJ,
Yeah,
the three, yeah, we will do it next year. We won't be nothing on this stage, this size. Well, it'll be a part of our events that we run normally. This one right here, we're coming after, it's the 50th anniversary, so we just came after a really big ship.
so is there
next
another
year.
budget item for other events?
Yeah,
that we're
we
gonna-
got 30,000 for other yearly events. But I think we put 20 in to do Celebrate MJ. And that's to bring a headline talent in, sound and lighting and all that.
So it's the 30 you already have plus 20 more.
Yes, sir.
So 20 is the
Yeah, 20
anticipated
will be-
expense
yes, sir.
for the 50th?
It won't be the 50th, it'll be
Daryl's
Celebrate
15 of
MJ.
that.
Sir?
So Daryl's 15 of that.
Oh, no, that one is, we've already spent the 30. Y'all gave us this year.
Okay.
It'll be an extra additional 20. That'll be a $50,000
Okay,
budget.
okay, that's
Yeah,
wrong.
okay.
Okay,
But we are looking at doing that every year and probably running on about
so
$25.
30 came out of existing current
Yes,
year?
sir.
Okay,
It
I'm
came out
good.
of the current budget. Yes, sir.
So I don't have my contacts in, so if I look over here.
I
I'll look right
understand.
there.
I'd rather look anywhere but here if I was you, you know.
Only my
I look
left
better
eye. My
without
right
your
eye can see
contacts.
fine. If I close my eye, I can see it just fine. It's my left eye.
That's what my wife does. If she closes her eyes, I look a lot better. So I'm used to that.
Both of them or just one?
Both of them.
Does this include like new park opportunities for, you know, food trucks and things that we had talked about?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
includes
yeah.
all that?
We'll be able to bring those in with no cost. We'll be charging them, to tell you the truth, so it'll be events that we'll be bringing them in, and that's stuff we will be doing. Moves in the parks this year, we're bringing in food trucks for that. And then we're looking at something, if this catches fire and does real well, probably around August, we'll probably have some kind of food truck extravaganza, where we bring them in, a bunch in for one day, like a Saturday.
The possibility of ice skating, would that be included
Well,
in this as
yeah,
well?
we're gonna, toward the end,
Okay.
we're gonna challenge that one. We'll have the numbers for that. Okay, that's it, Charlie Daniels. That's what we're looking for to add on there. Everything else is pretty much standard. Monday Park, our next one, what page is that?
29?
Three.
Oh.
29.
You're starting on, yeah, right here, Rob.
Okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
Commissioner.
Oh, Monday is 29 for them, but that's hard to go into.
Is this my new stuff?
His highlights are page 3.
Yeah.
Start right there.
Okay, at Monday Park, what we're looking to do there, we're upping our grass cutting line up 270. We're increasing it from about 2,500 to 7,500, and that's just due to the new greenways, the new parks we're cutting and stuff. That's, the prices have gone up on everything. Herbicide alone that we're using, the Cornerstone, last year we was buying it at $49, I think, for 2.5 gallons. It's $140 for 2.5 gallons now. And we've been shopping that stuff out, and we use a lot of that stuff, a lot. We got to spray all of our sidewalks. Mount Juliet Road gets sprayed, the sidewalks there, about once every 2 months, and that takes a lot. All of our greenways get it, our parks get it.
What was the product?
It's Cornerstone's what we use out at the co-op. We've used several, but we've been out shopping on them all, and it's the stuff with paraquat that you've been warned about. But it's the herbicide that we spray. But it's the stuff we spray for our sidewalks and all of our mowing needs and stuff. So it's almost triple the price, and it alone is just astronomical, the price on it. So that's really one of the big reasons we did that. But again, we've added greenways, parks, and just the cost on that, just mowing equipment, stuff like that. So we've gone about $2,500 there. And then line item 308, athletic supplies, that will be our nets for our pickleball, our tennis courts, our volleyball, all of those. I don't know how many we got. We got over 19 nets in play right now in the city. And if they come in, and a lot of times we'll get hit. Kids will come through, they'll have a wild night and they'll cut 4 nets. And those things are very expensive. So just replacing those and just keeping up the parks and stuff with that, the athletic supplies, basketball nets, stuff like that. That's pretty much what we're at.
$2,000.
Huh?
$2,000 in nets.
Yeah, well, we're increasing, and we're getting bigger every day. And it's more than the nets, it's basketballs and footballs and pickleball nets and stuff like that.
Hey, Rocky,
Yes, sir.
I got a quick question. So, because I do see the insurance on there, and I'm actually dealing with this with our actual client. So, what we're finding out is our insurance, a lot of the annual premiums are coming up. Is that coming up for the city at all? Are we seeing any increases there? Because I know, there's a lot of corporations that are seeing those increases, and they're not put into our budgets. So, I just didn't know if that was something that you guys looked at, or
That's something
Oh,
that
are
I
we
work
locked
with
in?
DEP on. I wouldn't say that we're locked in on it, but usually they'll give me a heads up if they're looking at a big increase. So
Okay.
I budget the insurance for all the departments.
okay. I just thought I'd ask because I know that was a red flag for us this year.
Yeah.
Question on Monday. Is this the extension of the expansion of the playground included as well as my triangle putting green?
No, we had to set them aside until we get the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, and all that construction done. Then see what we got left, then that'll mandate what kind of playground we can put in. But yeah, we're doing it in a priority aspect there, tennis courts, pickleball courts, parking lot. And then whatever's left and wherever we're at, then we're gonna take on the playground.
All right, and then, but the putting green, you should already have.
It'll be there.
Yeah,
Once
so-
we get in place and the construction done, we'll put the putting green in
Okay.
place. Yeah. But we've already got that.
Yeah,
in
I
house.
thought so,
We're ready to
yeah.
go with it. And we increased the janitorial supplies and stuff, which is our older bands and stuff, by $500 at Monday. That's increased to $1,000. That's just for cleaning our bathrooms and stuff again.
There's
And,
been a lot of traffic there too.
yeah, we're getting a lot, and we're looking for a lot of traffic. We're putting in pickleball courts and stuff. Now, Monday Park's bathroom will get quadruple the usage that it's been getting. We got Amazon coming on and just cleaning those and stuff. And that's kind of where we are on that. It's just cost increase. It's all we're doing.
Are we locked in on the price for the trucks? Because it shows, it looks like this year's, looks like you're getting one truck this year. Is that correct?
So we're asking
Or
for
is it
two
two?
trucks.
That's what I was wondering, if it's
And
two
Toby
trucks or,
quoted those at 55,000 each.
and those are already locked in
I think
prices?
so, yeah.
Okay.
That's the number he gave me.
Just a question. I know I saw we're releasing the ambulances. I think we lease some of our fire equipment. Is there I'm just curious,
No,
what's the?
we bought the fire equipment, but it fell under a capital lease. But it was like, we bought it on basically like a loan, but they call it a capital lease. So we
Okay.
don't lease them, they're ours
Okay.
per se. And the ambulances are, these, in the budget as being leased because, and I'm sure Jamie and Joey can explain why that is the case later. But we've budgeted them at a lease and not a purchase.
What's the pros and cons other than depreciation versus expense on that?
Can we let Joey and, as far as just in
Just
general?
just in general,
Oh,
lease
in-
versus purchase, capital expense.
Typically you pay more if you lease them. If you have the money, it's always better to just go ahead and buy them outright.
Okay. Okay. All right.
331, that's gas, oil, diesel, and grease. Again, the gas prices. We went up 19,000 to 40,000 this year, which is basically doubling our gas. And we'll be, that's just pretty well self-explanatory. They're looking for gas to be $6 a gallon this summer, is what they're saying. And last year, I think we was at 2 something. Now we're paying $4.29 is what I paid today. So that's where we're on that. The same thing with tires and tubes. We increased that $500 just to take care of flats and stuff like that, which we run into. The $2,000, excuse me, we have there, that wouldn't take care of one tractor, set of back tractor tires if we cut them both down and we had a problem. But we're hoping we don't do that. We haven't done that, but that's where we're at. That's the reason we put these numbers out here. Just in case we do, we could cover that. And then we go to 939, which is the improvements and stuff. And what we're doing there, this is a contingency. It's $300,000 on the Monday Park pickleball and tennis court. And what that is for undercutting. That's something, you know, that we don't know till we get out there and we start building and start doing excavating. How's it gonna compact? How's it gonna do for the asphalt? So that's a worst case scenario. $300,000 is if they have to undercut the whole project and come in and fill it and compact it, it would be around 300,000. We don't even look to get close to that. But that's, again, is a worst case scenario number.
So it's under 939, which is other improvements. Does that cap it just for undercutting, or does it just fall under other?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the budget is described as
Oh.
other improvements.
No, that's just specifically for the undercutting.
Okay.
There's nothing else in there.
So you couldn't define other in other ways.
I'll work on that.
And then 944, transportation equipment, we're looking to get 2 Ford F-150 extended cab 4x4s, 110,000. We're rotating 2 out that are over 20-something years old, and we usually drive them until the wheels fall off, and we got a couple, the wheels are ready to fall off of, so we're gonna try to bring some new ones in.
Well, if they're used, you may can sell them for more than the 55.
I don't know, they're Toby, I think I'm gonna buy them, and Toby sent me this quote. Down to the satellite parks, I think we have 7 or 8 running right now.
Yes.
And, those are your little parks, you know, your Eagle, your Robinson and stuff. And what we'd like to do, South Park, that, the dog park out there, the fence out there is starting to get old, it's starting to get ugly. Dogs are starting to escape. We've done everything we can to hold them. We've put railroad ties around them. So I think it's time we expand the dog park. We add, the volleyball court we have out there is not even getting used. It just sits idle. Kids will come out every once in a while, build sandcastles. But what we're looking to do is take down all the old fencing, it's time to redo it, and just add that about acre and a quarter there to the dog park, all the way up to the parking lot. This thing gets all kinds of usage. I mean, people are there all the time, there on the weekends, and, that's gonna be around 50,000. That's to redo the fence with a black vinyl fence, with the gates and everything, redoing them, bringing them out, adding them, extending, and, but again, that's another one of that's, and we'll put in dog after it. But this is a heavily used park, very heavily used park, especially since we didn't get Grace, we couldn't afford it. I think we'll bring the people a bigger dog park here, and everybody will be seeing that. We've talked to people down there, they would really like to see that. It'll be a double dog park with a small dog and big dog can run in together. And we'll be adding another water fountain there. So it's really something we need. Hamilton Denson, I mean, we really don't need that there. We did get a matching grant from TDEC. That's to do phase 2. That'll be for the restroom and the playground and hopefully lighting. Hopefully there's enough there that we may be able to get some sport lighting out there. We're not gonna guarantee that, but that 430, and the number, I think, I'm guessing it came from the matching of the price of the land that we paid for the land. I think it came in right at $430,000. So that's where that number came from. So that should get us our restroom, our playground and stuff. And if you've been out there lately, they've already got the west side fields done. They've got them under seed, and they're looking good. It was looking really good. They're hooking the sewer up right now. So that project's moving on really well. We added a GL for city greenways. We're taking on a lot of greenways now with the opening of Amazon, Cedar Creek coming on. We didn't have a GL number to pull gas, weed eater string and stuff from. We're at now, that's $5,000. And again, that one comes back again to herbicides and stuff. The cost of herbicide is just killing, just using that stuff. It's just, but we gotta use, we can't weed eat everything. So we do need that, and the price on that is substantial. We're also asking for $100,000 for the Cedar Creek Greenway for labor and materials on staining the boardwalks that are coming in. And there's gonna be a significant amount of boardwalks coming there. I talked to Matt White from Public Works. That was not something, the grant was not covered in that, so they transferred that over to us. So we'll be taking care of those anyway, maintain them. And you can't stain them or treat them now, because they're treated lumber. They've gotta have a couple, 3 months to get the moisture out. Then we'll come back and we'll treat them with a treater for some wood. And we're probably gonna leave them, unless y'all want something else, probably gonna leave them natural wood and just put like a Thompson water cell on them or something. Just to treat them, probably do that at least once or twice a year. But I think, to talk to him, the number we came up with was around $100,000. I don't think we'll get close to that.
If you do a city crew,
Yeah.
you'll probably do it a lot cheaper.
Yeah, we won't get close to that, cause we're gonna do that in-house, no staining, but that's a worst-case scenario again, is what we're coming at you with. The RTA train station, it's something we've been cutting for years and years, we never had a line item on. We put that in there this year for $1,000, and again, it's one we continually cut, but we didn't have any money there set aside for it. So this year, we talked to Dana, and there'll be some money set aside just for gas, weeder string and stuff like that. There'll be something kind of paying for what we do there.
I think it's important when we're doing anything with that RTA or the train station to keep exact tabs on what we're spending.
Oh, keep tabs on it? Okay.
That is in the train station budget as well.
Good.
Okay, that's pretty much what we're looking for in our budget, and that's the add-ons we have. Now, one thing I've been asked to look into, and, that's the everything ice and ice skating rink. Maybe rent ice skating rink for like 7 weeks out of Charlie Daniels and have it out there during probably somewhere around the holidays, like Thanksgiving to mid-January. There's a lot of something other neighborhoods do and stuff, or surrounding counties. And we've looked into that, and, I think, did you put it up there?
There's attachments, another stapled copy of the email that was sent, also the, products and stuff that will be needed.
And this is what we found, to get three-phase, we're gonna need a three-phase outlet. And the closest we have, it's up toward the tennis courts, we gotta run it, I think about 900 feet or something, how far do you say?
Around 800 to 900 feet.
And that's gonna cost us to hook that up and everything around $25,000. That way we'll have it, that's a one-time price, we'll have the three-phase there, and we'll be able to hook up to it anytime we come in, move in and out. But as you can see, the different sizes are 40 by 80, which, 3,200 square feet. It'll hold 128 max skaters. The budget for that is around 110,000. And that's to rent it, bring it in, that's them bring it, shoot the skates, electric, everything you need to do this. Now, what we will have to do, we'll have to provide, is we'll have to build a sandbox that'll house this, and we'll have to put about 4 to 5 inches of sand in this box so they can level the skating rink. It's got to be perfectly level to freeze the water. We'll have to do the electricity, we'll have to bring the water, then we'll need some kind of a building, an outside building that can hold the skates and hold probably a couple of people working there, having waivers signed, handing out skates, taking out money or whatever, and, then skate rental and storage. Pretty much
That's
what
for
we
the
do.
7 weeks?
Yes, I think 7 weeks, and we're looking at probably somewhere with electricity and everything, somewhere in the $180,000 to $200,000 range for 7 weeks.
So I did talk to the contractor. He's gonna be revising his quote if you haven't already
Okay.
received it. And there is also a lease to own option over a 5-year period of time.
Okay.
I asked him to include in there.
And see, World Outreach Church in Murfreesboro does that, they bought theirs.
Correct.
And they store it, and then they'll bring it out, doing this about the same
Yeah.
time we're talking about 9
Y-
weeks.
Yeah, my thought is, let's try it 1 year. If we get a big turnout for it, then we can roll it into a lease to own, rather than rent it every year and not, basically, it's money thrown away, so.
And that's kinda what we were looking at, if we do it and everybody likes it, and it catches on like everybody's
Yeah.
thinking, then we put it in a permanent place, like
Correct.
either the EQ basin or out
Well,
here.
they would, under this rent to own or lease to own, they would come and pick it up after a period of time and store it until we're ready to use it again.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to, you wouldn't have a big expense of having to build some full-time
Well, you
building.
said do it here, then do it at the EQ basin, but you're gonna need three-phase power.
Yeah, we'll need three-phase power wherever we go. We'll have to
Yeah.
have that available.
And you're not gonna be able to use it for anything else.
Down here, no.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is a cost on the front end. What about insurance? I mean, who takes on the liability? Is the company liable for this, or is it
I'm
us?
sure we would be liable.
Be no different than our parks, would it not? Or where we,
It would be different. It's putting ice down.
well, we've got
We-
playgrounds we're putting down, at skate parks we've had
I'm
in
sure
the past.
DEP would.
I would think it'd fall under the same
Good cover.
umbrella.
But this is something that we've looked at too, and if you want me to go deeper, we can go deeper. We can start digging deeper and add this to the budget. But this is something I just wanted to bring to y'all tonight and just say this is what we looked at. I know I've got interest from some of you guys talking to you, and I just want to see where you was and how much you want me to dig on into this.
Yeah, I think it's a valid question on the insurance to see what additional rider policy costs would be, to include that.
So what kind of numbers are you seeing with the revised quote?
It's gonna come in less than $100,000 for a mid-size over, again, if we don't have a big turnout the first year, then we just part ways, shake hands, and everybody's goes on their merry way. But if we get a big turnout, it's something the board decides we wanna continue, to do, then it would convert into a lease to own, and for 5 years, after 5 years, we would own it. So we continue to pay the let's just call it $80,000 for the next 5 years, and then we would own it at the end of 5 years.
Is there any interest in maybe some like, the gentleman that actually owns the Christmas store down there, some partnership there, so that way it would kind of overlap to help generate business for their area during the season, or that way we can help offset some of the costs? Just throwing out some
You mean
ideas.
put it in their parking lot?
Well, no, not in their parking lot.
There's plenty of parking spaces.
Is there plenty? Well, I didn't know. I mean, well, I mean, 'cause I know-
Are you making a joke?
No. Maybe a little one.
well, I know they have some, some space back there that is undeveloped, but maybe there's an option. I don't know. I'm
Those
just
last
throwing out.
3 parking spaces.
The last 3.
I'm sure I think the big deal is the cost of the electrical.
The
right?
electrical is a big deal, yeah. You gotta have 3 phase
Yeah.
to do this, and not everybody's got 3 phase to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we got the spot to do it. We got a great location back in the back parking lot. The World Outreach Church says it's really, really popular when they bring this out.
Okay.
So, I mean,
You just
something-
set it on the tennis courts?
Sir?
You just set it on tennis courts? I mean,
Yeah, nobody's playing tennis in the winter. Oh,
Well,
maybe.
I'd
I mean,
tell
you'd be a
Ned,
lot closer to your 3-phase power there.
Yeah, I could get it there. I'd be a lot closer. But I'd have to tear all my nets up, so I don't think that'd be worth it.
Well, it sounds like we have youths that are doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they get to buy them new ones every year anyway.
We can collaborate with
The
them,
nets can
save
just
some
be an
costs.
obstacle.
This is true.
Or a safety
I mean,
precaution.
we're game for anything y'all wanna try out there.
I'd like to see us try it. I'm one vote, but and I'm sure I can talk to some potential developers that are wanting to
Maybe we could try to sell.
help offset that
sponsorship or
cost.
something. Maybe name it after somebody. What do you think?
How about an insurance company?
Well, we got one in mind. I think we could call.
We do indeed.
Yeah, we got an insurance company we could call.
Seemed to have their feelings hurt the last time they weren't asked.
Well,
Dr. Kalen, yeah.
Well, so is there a budget? Is there
Yeah, that's-
is there amount in there now for?
no, sir, I've not put them out in. That's what we'll do tonight.
Okay.
If y'all give me the goals, put it in, I'll put it in.
Okay. I would like to see it put in.
Why don't you, have you got the actual nailed down numbers you want in there?
I've
Or
got close, we're pretty close.
350?
Huh?
350?
No, about 180.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's for the 3-phase, for everything that's set
That's
up.
for everything.
Turnkey.
I said it's about 180. I'm going record, that's about 180.
About.
But, yeah, I'm thinking 180 can do it, because if we can get it around 100 for the rental to come in, then I think we can get with the guy up there at the sheds, that sells a shed, I think he would loan us a shed to do this, or we could rent a shed. Yeah. And then we do the electrical and bring it down.
Oh, Kenny's always got a shed.
Kenny can find a shed.
Wait till the next
Yeah, I think
tornado,
180,
right?
We can do it for 180.
All right.
I guess
Before
we'll
you get a
put
shed.
180 in our capital.
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels.
Excellent. And you'll get the insurance.
Okay, we'll look into the insurance.
Yeah.
We'll start digging into that first thing in the morning. And she'll start, I guess you'll get the PEP.
Yes.
And, that's the parks budget. That was easy, wasn't it? See, we should've just went through straight off.
Your time is up.
Hey, see y'all. Oh, man. I was a knife in my back. Any other questions, guys?
Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you, guys, appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
They get bigger every year?
Oh, yeah. All right.
Highlights only.
Dana, real quick, are there some duplicate pages in here?
I'm sorry, what?
Are there some duplicate pages?
In the budget?
21, 25 seem to be the same, 22 and 26. 20 and 24,
Yeah, I was
19 and 23.
I was afraid to pull them out because I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, did I, what happened?
Am I the only one that caught that?
What are we doing? We got revised
I'm
sheets.
sorry, tell me those again?
So 19 and 23 appear to be the same. 20 and 24, 21 and 25,
Yes.
22 and
So
26.
probably what happened was I got interrupted as I was printing the budget off and printed 2 copies of that.
No problem. I just wanted to
So,
make
yeah.
sure that was,
Yeah, no, it's the
that
same.
was the case.
My bad.
No.
Put a little fluff in there for us, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, you know, it just wasn't
Oh,
enough
yeah, it is.
pages. I just wanted to,
I like it.
I'm so sorry.
We just gotta
The
have more
pages
pages,
are numbered,
right?
like, this is correct, the agenda is right.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. I really just wanna try to hit the highlights and kinda go over
Custom first
questions.
budget cut.
Jennifer, I did get your email today. I've not got a chance to go through everything on that, but I think there's some good opportunities. We'll get to the Beckwith Road and get down to the capital
What
project.
page are we on?
So, starting off highways and streets, it's budget,
Page number?
31.
31.
Bingo.
And start off there, we'll hit a few highlights, personnel requests. I'd say the push this year for personnel, for me particularly, is to really take a next step. I wanted to get the foundation for the department set last year, but this year, really setting up our traffic division. As we've grown, so have the needs for our traffic guys. They're not just signal techs. They're doing lighting. We're doing the maintenance for all the lights. We've got the bridge lights that are coming up the interstate. They do the high mast interchange lights. We have lighting at the train station now. In addition, a lot of the complex things that we've hit. I'm very proud of what they've been able to do in the past year. 2 signal cabinet knockdowns, and we learned some lessons with the first one. We were able to do a lot ourselves the second go around, and really are, I think, taking the next step. So really want to try to hone in on that and taking some of the traffic markings and signs from our streets division and into our traffic division. While it's still under highways and streets umbrella, really kind of creating 2 separate divisions there. And so going on from that. One of them is the right-of-way maintenance position. We had some shifting around last year. I know that we had some needs elsewhere within the city, so this is kind of a position we asked for last year, just bringing it back to our department. Going on into page 32, want to hit for highways and streets, machinery and equipment. That's always the big one for us. A lot of the other stuff is fuel increases, things like that. But machinery equipment, I would like to say, before we added in the carryovers for equipment, I did just total budget for us when we were under. The reason that we're up a little bit this year is because of our machinery equipment and transportation equipment. All of these are carryovers. I will say the new sign truck, take note of that under line 944. That is a full-size F-350 flatbed that's going to be equipped specifically for new sign equipment. So the new sign tech position, this is the truck that they would be using. We do have 3 new, and we're going to go for hybrid F-150s. These are for various personnel. They are the four doors. You can't get the hybrids in anything but the four doors. I will like to note, I have taken a look at the electric trucks. Those look to have a lower life cycle cost. I don't know about the availability. If we have the opportunity to go for those, we will. But I really don't think that's going to be a this year thing. I think that's going to be moving into the future. I think it fits our department well. I think is the only consideration for us is plug-in stations. But for the miles that it would go versus the miles that we drive in a week, I think it would you take those and say a 10-year life cycle cost, and I think that we would come out to the advantage on that. It's different, it's unique, but it's something that I'm intrigued about. And then one other thing I wanted to note, so we've been hit with tornadoes 2 budget years in a row, unfortunately, and I wanted to add a line just as sort of a catch-all for any kind of cleanup or storm damage that we might have, that 999 line that you see, tornado debris cleanup. That's something that we could stand to add to in the future, and I don't ever want to use it. It's just there just in case. That's only for natural disaster type of situation that we can throw something, because it's always in highways and streets. So I believe that is all for the highways and streets. Before we move on to the next
Quick question before you
section.
move.
Yes, sir.
Just, you know, I know there's a discussion last year for the option to switch out for the Ford trucks. Is that still, you know, being looked at with gas prices, or is that just something that you guys are, or is that Ford not offering?
So we are getting the trade trucks, but the trade trucks are for the heavy duties.
Okay.
We have not been able to get those. I think we get them just for the basic cab F-150s.
Okay.
We do not get those for anything other than just those particular ones. And those are four-wheel drive, short bed F-150s or Super Duty F-250s.
That's what I thought last year. There were 250s. I didn't know they had 150 options, but
Yeah.
okay.
And we're looking for those for Rocky as well. I know he had mentioned some of those where we have the opportunity, but it's really just specific to those two types. And what it is Two Rivers Ford gets a better deal when they sell to a government, and then when they turn around, they stand to not lose money on it. It's worth it to them, minor cost to us.
Okay.
To change out. Any other questions on highways and streets?
Well, I had a few things
Sure.
in my email. You want me to just save it for later, or, because I'm not sure where some of this stuff would belong.
There are various places. I think a lot of it probably is more to the highways and streets. I would say the Beckwith will come in for the capital projects.
Striping, the State Street aid?
Yeah,
The
striping and State
resurfacing
Street
or the
aid.
widening?
So you did ask about the resurfacing in Belinda City. What was that, Matt? Or Belinda Park?
Resurfacing and any roadway striping or anything that's State Street aid budget. So we'll touch that when we get to State Street aid.
Yeah, I think so. That may be the best. Let's tackle
Okay.
those there. Moving on to city garage, if there's no other questions. One position here.
What
We
page?
had, yes, sorry.
Page number.
Oh, I'm sorry. 30.
Next page.
33. The one personnel request there, certified lead mechanic. Basically, we added one position last year. That's been a great addition to our department. I will say that I think that we have really greatly increased our responsiveness and duties. We wanted to go for 2 last year, but we were limited on space. We didn't have the space. The garage, if you drive down Clemens Road, it's very large. But it's coming along, should be completed here later this summer. And with that, we're going to have room to start working on some heavy equipment, including fire trucks. That is a goal for us, working with the fire department, getting certified to be able to do that. So very excited about that opportunity. That's going to be the focus of this position, and so that we can do that instead of shipping that out every single time. Things like tires, obviously, it's too difficult with a fleet our size to really do any tire inventory whatsoever. That's space prohibited. We'd have to build another building out there just for tires. But it does afford us a lot of opportunities to work on the heavy equipment. The second part, the next page, page 34, on the buildings, well, that's actually, I'm sorry, that's off of garage. If you want anything else on garage, any more questions on that, let me know. Public Works Buildings and Grounds, which is page 34. I did want to make note of line item 910 there. Dana did mention new land. We've talked with adjacent landowner to our Clemens Road facility. There is a willingness to sell. We are out of space. And we do still have a need for new shops for our expanded sewer capabilities as well as for streets. And so with the buildings here on Clemens Road, my dream is still to have a centralized campus. It's time to expand Clemens Road because we've about filled it up. There might be some more opportunities on the rear of the property, but I know that was for sale a couple of years ago. We didn't get that then, but I think it's worth approaching. And so we looked at the value. We estimated about 1.6 million. We split it 50-50, 800 here and 800 in sewer. That way it softens the general fund and the sewer. It is intended for both, so I felt that it was a worthwhile split. 933 construction line. That is for the facility that's under construction right now. We're not able to get it fully completed. I do not think that we're gonna need $1 million. I think we're probably just gonna be down to maybe about $400,000 or $500,000, the expenditures that are gonna carry over the fiscal year. Yes, sir.
Question. On the land purchase, what's the long-term plan for the 60 acres that Public Works is using and the police firing range?
The police, of course, and the firing range would stay there because they've expanded on it, and I think Public Works uses a certain amount of acres for Public Works. The remaining acreage was set aside years ago for a sewer treatment plant, and it'd be up to the commission as to whether or not we'd ever pursue that. I don't think that'd be in our best interest to pursue utilizing that land for a sewer treatment plant. It's one of those businesses we probably don't want to get into. I know that question had come up before, if the city would entertain selling off some of the property, and that would be a commission decision. But Andy, how many acres do you guys use out there?
We probably use, I'd say, 20 or so. I would say probably the biggest need, so there's a lot of use out there that you would want buffered from the general public as far as that's where our tornado debris went. Disposal of animals occasionally. We have the brush pile.
Yeah.
These things attract critters, and so you don't necessarily want that close to a neighborhood. It is a good spot. I would say there would be a replacement cost for it, but could we get by on less land? Definitely. How much less? I'd probably want to lay it out. If we got a good square piece of land, it might be easier. But I would say we would want something out of the way. It's in a good spot. It's on the dead end.
Yeah.
Side, something similar. We just want to consider replacement.
Yeah, I appreciate the field trip out there
Yeah,
too the other
no
week. So
problem. Glad we didn't
got
get
to see all the
started.
carcasses, animal carcasses. spread all over the place.
We
Anyway,
think
so I
of
was just-
wildlife well.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, in these conversations of talking about acquiring more land, sometimes we probably should look at what we already have and maybe leveraging some of that, or if we're not gonna use it, maybe consider selling it to help offset some of these acquisition costs elsewhere, where maybe it makes more
Yeah.
sense.
He's saying basically maintain some of the land you've got now, but maybe sell some portion of this 60 acres off.
I think
It's
there's
off Tate
legitimate
Lane, so I mean, you got that whole Tate Lane road issue to contend with,
Yeah.
but
York Road?
it's, or not Tate
York-
Lane, sorry, York.
Yeah. Some of it backs up to, or is close to Moss property as well.
It adjoins it.
Yeah, so it's possible that some percentage of it would be of interest to a developer and then sequester off or.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. Well, we would want to look a little bit more at space utilization. I mean, animal disposal, I mean, we could look at doing that. We do have an incinerator, I believe, at our animal control facility. That is a possibility. That's a lot more burning. There is a pretty good expense to that, so.
A lot of freezing too, and it'd be a little hard to do on deer and things of that nature.
They'll fit.
That's big freezers.
So.
I saw a lot of buzzards out there, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some coyotes that live close
Yeah.
by too.
There's,
but-
yes.
I can say in the past, when the discussions come up about York Road, it was kind of left at, nobody wanted to do anything until the sewer contract got nailed back down with Metro, because it was kind of the backdoor bargaining piece. We can walk away and start our own sewer treatment. If we give that up, then you lose that, but I think there's also some other departments that may be including that in their long-term plans. But it is just sitting there.
It is, that's correct. I would say we use a pretty small percentage overall of the land, but I would say that there is a need for something that would have a good buffer to surrounding areas.
I think even the FBI was eyeballing it a few years back.
Yeah, we missed an opportunity on that.
Okay. Any other questions on that before I move on? I'm gonna jump a little bit down. I don't think there's any sense in getting into a lot of the weeds, train station or anything like that. It kinda is what it is.
Rocky says he poisons those weeds.
Yes, let's do that. Let's jump down to, if I can get my page number right, the Capital Projects Fund. Oh my gosh. Messing it up. 41, let's jump to 41. That's our new project. We've got Beckwith Road. Commissioner Mullally, I know that you had asked about improvements on Beckwith Road. I think the one for paving, was that correct? Matt, what was the update
One for
there?
paving and one for a signal at the intersection of South Rutland and
Yeah.
Beckwith.
Yeah, I was told a while back that four-way there is county, but then recently, it was stated that it was city. So I was inquiring about the possibility of having a signal put in, and then as development comes in, getting them to reimburse.
I think there's some.
Isn't two
oh, go
legs,
on.
or isn't two legs of the intersection county and two are city?
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
We actually do own the center point of the
The center,
intersection. Contrast that with the four-way. I know. Contrast that ironically with Adams Lane, where we actually don't have jurisdiction over Central Pike right there at the four-way with John Hager and Adams Lane. So we do have the new project listed in here from looking at our discussions last fall as far as our projection of our projects going forward and our prioritization of projects that we've been working through. The Beckwith Road project is the next one on the list. Traffic volumes are increasing. I think there's a lot of development opportunity, as you say. And we've even talked with some. For instance, I know the HCA property, that they actually own all the property now around ER. They purchased all that. That property was tasked with the volumes increased of doing a southbound right turn lane, which dramatically improves that intersection. I think there's some opportunities. There's probably some short-term and some long-term opportunities there. I would say that it's probably a good plan that we analyze. Let's get the engineering in here, and then let's analyze maybe short-term improvements to improve that intersection. Drove through it this morning, drove through it this afternoon. It has a significant traffic volume. It has a pretty significant queue to it. Something is needed now, and so maybe there's some opportunities. If it's a turn lane, if it's a signal, Matt made a good point. I think the signal might not be the most efficient without some turn lanes.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a combination of widening and signal.
Yes.
Which
And so-
increases your budget.
We want to look at that. I think if there's some opportunities, if turn lanes make the difference without the signal, that might be the best approach for now. But then I think ultimately we want to be looking at this for a broader project, a much, much larger investment of 4 or 5 lane type facility. Think, South Mount Juliet Road or North Mount Juliet Road type of facility going through that area. So that's the plan there. So that's the new project. We also have two new ones. Sunset Drive, which is actually development money that's been contributed on that one. That one's in engineering. What's the current status on that?
That's under design right now. That's Nicholsville subdivision is, each lot has contributed money towards that project. And we just got started with engineering a few months ago, so.
And that's gonna go under construction this coming year?
Yes.
Likely, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there won't be any right-of-way acquisition on that. Still to be determined if utilities are impacted. That could slow down the process if we have to make utility companies move out of the way, but that's still to be determined, yeah.
Also, Lebanon Road slip ramp at Golden Bear, we put that in for the city's contribution that's per the ordinance. Based on conversations with the developer, I don't know that they have any interest in pursuing the city's contribution. I think the cost is too much, they don't wanna spend it, and they're not willing to take the money.
They're gonna wait it out.
They're gonna wait it out. So, but we felt it was appropriate to go ahead and add that money in there anyway. Other projects, I think it's, everything else is ongoing. We've had the two new additional projects, the ITS, the ADA upgrades on Mount Juliet Road. Those are new grant awards this current budget year.
Town Center Trail Phase 3.
That's right, yes, thank you. Moving along a little bit, stormwater, that is page 43.
Before we go, I got a
Oh,
question.
yeah, sorry.
Curd Road signal. I noticed that went up 100,000 from last year, so did anything get done this current budget year towards Curd Road, engineering,
Yeah, the design is
easement,
complete.
land acquisition, anything?
Yeah, the design is complete. We've been working this whole time with the post office on getting them to donate the easements, and we'll build them a new exit onto Curd Road and close their exit on Mount
Okay.
Juliet Road. It's taken some time for them to approve this change to their access, and so it had to go up multiple levels through the federal government. So we're still working through that. I think we're close. I've had
Just
some
sounds quick.
conversations recently, and
Year
they
later.
seem to be on board. It's just getting that final approval from
So
them.
where's the 60,000 easement and land?
That's just in case they don't agree to dedicate the easements and.
So we don't have a,
right away.
we don't have a,
I think they're gonna dedicate because we're gonna make the improvements for them to their parking lot and their access drives. But it's still up in the air right now, so.
okay. Do we have a timeline of when that's gonna,
As soon as they give us the approvals, we can bid the project out, so it could be any day. I reach out to them every 2 weeks to get an update. So it's just taking some time, because they have to go through multiple levels of their structure, so.
Okay.
To get the final approvals and everything.
couple more, sorry.
Yeah.
So I noticed the roundabout on South Green Hills Road is 1.4 million, yet the roundabout on Providence Parkway is 700. What's the $700,000 difference?
The Providence Parkway is now a traffic signal.
Okay, did I miss that?
It's in parentheses, it says traffic signal, because the original concept was to do a roundabout there, and then the Kroger
Oh, gotcha,
extended
okay.
their building, and
See
it
it.
basically eliminated us.
Killed the project.
It killed the roundabout project, so the second option was to do a traffic signal there.
Are they still contributing to that signal?
Supposed to.
They
We've not
have
been able to, we've had conversations with them since. There was nothing requiring them. It was a ask.
Okay.
They had given word that they would, but we've not had word since then.
They did dedicate the right-of-way.
They did.
We needed additional right-of-way to put the signal in.
That's right.
They did dedicate that, but they have not contributed any funding towards that. There is a project in the works, beside Publix, that, what's that development?
The Providence Commons.
Providence Commons development that a condition of approval was to contribute money towards that signal to offset our costs. I forget the amount.
It was about half of it. We actually put half of what we have in budget in there. It was over 400,000.
Good.
We
The
felt that was appropriate.
The easement and land, acquisition on South Green Hill Road, 125?
That's just carryover. I don't think we'll need that much, because we're starting to close all those right-of-way acquisitions out before the fiscal year.
Oh, gotcha.
As
Okay.
far as when we set this budget, it was back in March, and we hadn't closed on any of the properties, and so we just left that in there.
Okay.
But since then, we've closed on all but one
So
of those
still
tracks.
one
Because
lot?
that can be reduced if we need to.
Still one lot?
One lot, yeah, that we need to close on. Gino's office is doing that property has a mortgage, and they have to get something signed off by the bank, so it takes some time working with the banks, the mortgage companies, to sign off on them. That item can be reduced if we want to,
Okay.
but
And just so you know, all of these carryovers, I do review those, because the budget's not gonna go for first reading until June. So before I even put it out, I'll go over these numbers one more time on these carryovers, just to make sure we didn't get a car in, or we
Okay.
didn't, or the project is, we've paid X, Y, Z, and we won't need that much. So I'll review those.
Gotcha. And my only last comment, I didn't see anything engineering or construction for City Hall. We giving up on that, or
No,
too,
sir.
or too early, too soon?
Just waiting on some pending conversations, see if we can get a more hardened number.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
My apologies for switching. I was about to lose battery. One thing I will note, that we are planning on putting together our capital plan workbook to be adopted in conjunction with the budget. So
Nice.
that is forthcoming. We have that. We're working on the finishing touches on that. Wanted to make sure that there wasn't any big changes out of this before we push forward, but that is part of the plan. Moving along to stormwater, this is page 43. I did want to highlight 944 transportation equipment. We do have a carryover there. Dana mentioned a Mundy Park detention project in here, which is $1 million, is what we're estimating. Shane, what was our latest and greatest? It was about that number, wasn't it?
The estimate they consultant provided us was 1.25, or 1.2 to 1.3.
Okay, we probably need to update this then, based on that estimate.
We'll be able to admit on that this week.
So we didn't change, that's right, we didn't change the numbers because we're opening bids. We wanted to get the bids in and see, and if there's a need maybe to pursue the project as we have it. Is there a need to do some value engineering and bring it down? So Dana, the number I think that we're getting from the state, which is another bucket of Biden bucks.
Yes, it's 987,000.
Sorry, I don't know any of the acronyms anymore for these. I've given up, so it's all Biden bugs. Yeah, so we really want to try to stick to that as much as we can and keep it level as much as we can. And so, but that's pending. We'll get that information. That will be updated before you get your budget. And for Commissioner Mullally, we've gone through, Shane, did we go through the drainage report on that one to see the reduction in flow for the Mundy Park?
Yes, it's substantial.
It's our hope that it's gonna make a noticeable difference in some of the flooding issues that we're experiencing in Belinda City. It is a major drainage area that goes towards Sunnymead, and so, or Springdale, I'm sorry, towards Springdale. I'd say about 30 or 40% of the drainage area that goes there, and it's gonna make a dramatic reduction in the flow, so.
The way it was right now, it could only handle a 10-year storm event. And we're up that to a 100-year storm event.
Yep.
Efficiencies it had, so it's gonna be 10 times
Yeah.
much effective.
It's designed to really restrict the flow. So this is, we felt like it was a worthwhile use of the funds. Those funds could be used for sewer, but we're talking life safety, property value here. we felt it was very appropriate to spend it. This is the more urgent matter. We will have sewer needs in the future, but this is far more urgent.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get any arguments on that one.
Let's see. All right, moving on to sewer. I'm gonna move down to budget item 49. Highlight some personnel. One addition, we had a outstanding success with doing inspections in-house, but we are still relying very heavily on our consultant. I think there's a huge value to us having the inspections in-house. These are people who have done the maintenance work on the sewer. This is an internal promotion for somebody, and so I love the opportunity that it gives for one of our current operators to give them this opportunity to do the inspections. I think their ownership of the system, I think it breeds the best that we could hope for, and so having this on there, so this would bring us to, we have an inspector for all of our commercial sites, it's in pretreatment, we have our construction site inspector, and then this would be a second construction site inspector. Doesn't negate the need that we would probably still need inspections with consulting help for large scale type projects. But that is I think it's been a great success, and I want to continue that on. It's really kind of been my plan all along, 2 inspectors in-house. We have 2 for streets, we have 2 for stormwater, we need 2 for sewer, and we'll see where we go in the coming years. But I think that's going to hold us out pretty good. A couple of reclassifications. These are basically trying to restructure the ladder, I think, so to speak. When we went through the pay study last year, the one thing that I didn't like how sewer shook out was how the rungs on the ladder were. We had go up a couple of rungs, and then everybody, you had 3 or 4 people or classifications just in a very tight, I mean, just within 50 cents to $1 an hour altogether, and we had a wide range of experience, so trying to correct that. Moving to page 49, the land, the other
Question
half of
about
that.
sewer.
Yes, ma'am,
Sewer.
sorry.
Since we're on sewer, when you complete the survey, the sewer survey, you know, I'm gonna take it to those 11 people down there at, South Rutland, at the back entrance of Baird at the 3-way. There's 11 residents there, some in the county, some in the city. So let's just say 8 or 9 of those 11 want sewer. Is it in the budget, or how much is in the budget toward sewer expansion down there?
That's a great question, and so our intent with that is to get all the information back from all the surveys and then group it together and then basically come back to the board and say, here's the results of our survey, here's what we're looking at, and really try to, I think it's gonna be great that we take those results, we weigh the costs, and then we come together and we say, what's most appropriate? I see this as sort of an ongoing thing. I felt like it was jumping too far ahead to put in any of those projects in there before we got to a place. I mean, obviously, if we get in a place where we've got another roadway project or something that, hey, we're already doing this, we're already tearing up everything, let's go ahead and get sewer in the ground like old Lebanon Dirt Road. But outside of that, I think that let's get the results of the survey and then let's move toward a budget after that point. Probably amendments is what we're
Probably what?
Amendments to the
Okay,
budget.
all right.
Just because I got a question, not so much for the sewer, but more for the storm drain. Are we gonna be looking at any type of, phasing that project that was purchased there behind Mount Juliet Elementary School? As in doing any type of phasing, so we're not having to hit it all as one big budget, or what are your thoughts there?
Oh, for the EQ basin, that unfortunately is gonna have to be one large chunk. I think, Shane, that's the plan, cause you gotta build the pumps, you've gotta build the base, the tank, all at once.
Start design on that this year.
Yes. Yeah.
Construction costs will have to be one chunk. Put it all on one.
I didn't know if there was anything, because I know with other, having so many other lines being dropped in other areas of the city, is there something that we can go ahead and at least be able to do it in phases? But if not, because, as we all know, cost is going up every year. So if we're looking at that $10 million hit, or whatever that number is, it could be doubled in the next couple of years as well, so.
Yeah, I know.
Just didn't know if there was an option there. Okay.
Yeah, I wish there was, and we've looked at trying to phase Stoner Creek sewer interceptor, which is in the sewer construction tabs. That one, we actually had 2 different phases, and we felt like we were going to get a better bang for our buck if we combined them. And so, while we try to look at phasing where we can, where it's appropriate, well, one thing I've found is the larger the line that you can do. If you're ordering 2,000 feet of pipe, it's one price. If you order 4,000 feet of pipe, you're going to get a better price. You get a far more competitive bid on it. So I think in the end, the value to the city is better.
We're only trying to support TDEC funds with that one as well.
Yes.
County and
Yeah, so there's some other funding opportunities still with some stimulus money out there and that we're exploring. That's some grant opportunities that we're exploring through the county, through there's some that's directly allocated to us. And so, which I think, Dana, we've taken a look at. I can't remember the name of that fund. Like I say, there's too many of these now. It's a different pot. We had the 10 million, we got the million, and then this is another pot.
I don't even remember what that is.
It's too much for me to remember anymore. We've got a UTV in there. We've had a need. Actually, we had to borrow PDs. Thank y'all very much to get out to the EQ Basin site. And so we felt like after utilizing that, there was a big need for us to do that for inspecting a lot of our off system or off roadway sewer systems. Trying to remember the portable vacuum system. Oh, that is for the sewer pumps. Like if you have a grinder pump that goes out, that's basically equipping a truck to have a pump on the back of it. Some transportation equipment. We've got some carryover stuff there. We've got some other new equipment in there as well. Where we can, again, on these, trying to get the trade trucks. The hybrids are not, but looking at some of the others, the F-250s are once we get them. Skip on down. Let's move it along. Page 54. We've got 2 new projects in our sewer line construction. We've got the Mount Vernon gravity connection replacement. That is a line that comes out from Mount Vernon Estates. It actually goes, it's an old, what is the size of that line, Shane? Is that 8 or 10?
8 or 10, yeah.
As Windtree Pines comes on, we're going to start with that new pump station. That's where all this goes. And it goes into a 10-inch gravity line. Capacity, we still have capacity today. We will probably run out of capacity of that line, I'd say, in about 2 to 3 years. It is an old line. I suspect there's probably a good amount of infiltration of groundwater into that line. I think it's going to be a benefit, but it does require boring underneath the railroad. Creekside Drive, that's the one that's going to head basically between, I'd say, Nonneville Road and our pump station on Lebanon Road. I keep saying new. It's 7 years old now. And that's it on those. That's all my highlights.
All right. Dana, did you have something?
No.
You just said hi.
I'm saying page 51.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, question. Where does the stormwater utility fall in?
That's a really good question. That's going to have to be its own budget. As we get that passed, I anticipate passing a full ordinance, and along with that would be budget.
Will be an enterprise fund?
It will be. That's
Okay.
correct. One thing I do want to mention on the stormwater is that we took a long, hard look. I brought this before the Planning Commission Thursday night. We took a long, hard look at our fees. That's going to be coming to you at the next Board of Commissioner meeting, an update on our fee structure. I really tried to take a look at that from the eyes of my former role in consulting. You really look at the man hours that you spend on stuff. And then we also took a look at inflation. So we're really trying to match the inflation and man hours that we spent on reviews. So be looking for that coming forth into the next budget. So you notice there was about $100,000 shortfall. A little bit of that was in the Mundy Park because it was a little bit short versus what we budgeted, but that's not all of it. Residential construction is tracking way below what it was last year. A lot of that's just, there's not the houses in the line. We knew there was gonna be a gap. I think we're hitting it right now. Great thing is, commercial construction is filling in that plenty. But, we wanna make sure that we are, we're staying in the black on our sewer, on our stormwater fund, so, just trying to account for that and account for the inflationary pressures that we're getting right now.
And keeping in mind on that stormwater utility, those two culverts that have got to be replaced.
So we've had, so the two, the two larger projects, Matt, we were working with Gresham Smith on those, correct? And they're getting us a design.
Yep.
We're waiting on the specifications. As soon as we get those specifications, they will be, we're gonna bid those out. So that's been carried over. It's still in the budget. It was in there. We're carrying it over, but we are getting the engineering done on that.
Okay. Were you gonna go over street aid?
We can. There wasn't really a whole lot of change in there, but yes, we can hit that.
But
Well-
Beckwith Road is in my plan to be paved next fiscal year, so
Like
likely this fall,
This
this
fall.
summer, late summer, fall.
late
Yeah.
summer? Okay, yeah, because getting pretty bad.
Mhm.
There's a lot of striping, you know, that, at the stop signs around that
Mhm.
really need, either they're wore out or they're missing, you know, the white
Yeah.
bar.
The striping you mentioned in Providence Marketplace, those are private drives and we don't stripe those because they're private drives. But, yeah, if there's any areas that are city streets that need restriping, you just let me know and I'll get it on our list. How much do we have in the painting line item?
We
typically stay in within that.
yeah, we have $60,000 in
Yeah.
there.
I mean, there's a
Should
lot
cover.
of them. There's 60 to 80. I mean, there's a lot.
In your district, okay.
You guys drive a lot. Me and I don't as much, Matt does more. Just do the-
And I didn't even go down to every street.
Is that mainly in Belinda City?
No, that's the entire district.
Okay,
Um,
just the stop bars you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, like a couple of signs, like there's a no truck entry sign that used to be there on Belinda, right before, you know, at Sunny Mead there, heading eastbound. There used to be a sign there saying no trucks beyond this point. Evidently, it's been missing a while, 'cause someone brought it to my attention.
You talking about on the main drag of Belinda Parkway?
Yeah.
They may have been removed back in the previous public works director because there's truck traffic that does go through there.
Mhm.
I don't think there's any weight limit.
Well, they're not supposed
There's
to, are
not.
they?
I'd need to review that and see our truck routes. We updated our truck routes
Yeah, I think
about
we
2 or 3 years
discourage it, but
ago.
The problem that is a lot of the trucks that deliver to individual homeowners.
Well,
they're-
with the exception of deliveries, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. Oh,
Sure.
yeah, we definitely.
Because we have 18-wheelers going down Sunny Mead,
Mhm.
and they're not supposed to. There is a sign there.
Yeah.
But there used to be a
That-
sign right there on Belinda saying none beyond this point except for deliveries.
Gotcha. Where was it at again, Krista?
Um,
Sunny Mead?
If you're going down eastbound on Belinda and right before you turn right on Sunny Mead, just right there, there used to be a sign right
So
there.
it's on Sunny Mead, not the Parkway,
No, on the Parkway,
on the Parkway.
Okay.
saying no trucks beyond this point
Okay.
except for deliveries. And then I didn't have time to go in the back part, the back entry at the three-way in the back to see if there's one back there. I didn't have time to go back there and look.
I'll put no 18-wheelers, that type of truck.
Okay. And then the solar pedestrian flashing lights at the crosswalk on Belinda, those are, I know that we had previously talked about that in this budget.
We got the ones on.
Yeah, that one at
that
Arbor
one, but
Springs.
Yeah, we need to add that. We should have enough in our sign and
Yeah.
signal.
The
budget
one
to
at,
do those.
the one at the Belinda, because remember it was double on each
Yes.
side?
Mhm.
And also the one at Bradford Park.
Yes.
We talked about both of those locations.
Okay, you're talking about on Providence Trail.
On the other
Oh,
one,
okay,
on
okay.
Providence Trail at Bradford Park.
Okay, yes.
Not the ones we just put on Providence Trail.
No, that's at Arbor Springs.
Okay.
Um,
Matt, you got a note of that.
all right, coming out of Sunny Mead, turning left on Belinda, heading westbound, you know, that's a big issue. PD knows about this. This is a continual problem, and it's a dangerous problem because people keep going the wrong way. So I would like to get a couple of signs there, red signs that either say one each or matching either one, whichever. Do not enter and/or wrong way there, and maybe another one in the median. Something to help, you know, with that situation, because I've almost been hit head on there 3 times, and they seem to be coming from Sunny Mead, because it's happening
From
from
Sunny
Sunny Mead, between Sunny Mead and Legacy.
So what you're finding is they're turning from Sunny Mead, taking an immediate left on the Belinda Parkway
Right.
and not going across. Okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
yes.
that's, I still get complaints all the time
We have,
on that.
we have somebody that inspects the entire city for striping. But my calculations, we just used up $60,000 of your budget. Well, there's some bad spots in my district as well, but I just assumed we're looking across the city
So,
for opportunities.
We actually did, Matt, we captured all of the striping when we did our asset management for the roadways, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was part of our asset management plan. So we actually, all our roads were laser mapped, visually mapped and everything.
So you've marked all the spots that need to be
It
painted,
yes, it captured
restriped,
everything, and I think,
arrows.
I'm trying to remember what the status of that was. Of course, our primary purpose out of that was paving, and pavement treatments, but I do know that we did capture all the striping.
So has the striping been done?
No, so
Okay.
we typically will catch those either, as we pave or on a mid-cycle refresh, kind of a thing.
Okay.
We could take a look at that.
Yeah, I was just somewhere, I was just coming onto Mount Juliet Road, and there were no arrows, they were gone, you could barely see them.
Was it on Mount Juliet Road?
Or, coming onto
On the
Mount Juliet
sidewalks.
Road from, by Paddocks.
Okay. And we have updated that, but I think.
Well, you
I'll-
couldn't
I'll
tell
need to
if you were in
check
a
that
left turn or go straight, or you could tell there were some arrows there.
Gotcha.
But I've just assumed you guys are doing that.
We are, yeah, so we have that
Across the
inventory
board.
now. Mm-hmm.
And safety, of course, is the number one issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's still some sections in Belinda City that have not been repaved. I know that the last list y'all sent out did not include some of the sections, for example, the back part of Sunny Acres, and there's several other streets around there that has not gotten finished on that. So is that in the budget, this coming budget, to finish all that?
Well, with our pavement, our asset management service, that we had done, the survey that all the streets, we now prioritize our roads based on the worst ones and try to group those together in sections so we get a better price. So some of those other streets that haven't been paved in Belinda City weren't in that higher priority list. We'll eventually get back to them.
What's the what's your life cycle on those, trying to get every street every 10 years or 20 years? I mean, what would be the goal?
Every 16 to 18 years.
16 to 18 years?
Wow.
So if you have one street repaved, then in theory, the
It
one
should
beside
last.
it could be 15 years away?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's happening, yeah.
I will say, one of the things that we've really tried to do as far as managing the dollars out of this asset management is a lot of the tricks that we've had, or tools in the bag, I guess you could say, was really just, hey, let's just repave. Actually, I mean, go back to when Marlon was here, let's just throw some more asphalt on top of it.
Yes.
And the curb would be gone, which is very common in Hickory Hills.
That
and,
causes flooding.
Yes.
And erosion.
Yes, very much so. We've had that issue elsewhere as well. Belinda City was real bad. Several layers of asphalt overlaid, and we try to correct that. So we really want to correct that, and so I'm real big on you gotta take out the bad stuff. It's deteriorated, you gotta get it out. So that's one treatment. Some of the other stuff is that Matt's been taking a look at. There's some stuff called Rejuvenator. We put it on some fresh stuff. There's the it's HA5, which is think of it like what you put on your driveway, like a tack coat or a seal coat on steroids. It's made for roadways, so it's a much heavier duty application. So we're actually doing that. It should be coming up pretty quick in Jackson Hills. So we're gonna try that on some newer roads. So the idea is, while we're doing this, we might take, let's take one of the subdivisions, Eagle Trace, over there on in Chandler Point. While that one it's a main road in and out, its life cycle is gonna be shorter than the cul-de-sacs on the side street. So do we pave the side streets while we're doing that and hit it at the same time, shorten the lot,
Is that something we can get developers to do before we take the roads over?
We've explored that, and what we wanted to do is really try to take on this approach to see, we'll get through our asset management, and it's my intent as we go through this next budget year to update our standards for roadways, for developments. We've gotten all away from a lot of the bike lanes. I'd rather have a wider sidewalk than the bike lanes. And so that's one of the things as far as the treatment goes, to have them do the Rejuvenator application before they release it to us. That's really the idea.
I do think that on Southeast Springdale, where you graded the road and lowered it down before you repave, I do think that has made a difference.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
build that down like 3 inches.
Yeah.
We usually do a 1.5 inch mill.
3 inches?
And we did 3 inches to take out some of that, all those overlays that we
bad.
did. So-
It was still
All right.
asphalt after 3 inches?
Yeah, but not much lower than that.
So when I'm asked when the rest of Belinda City is going to get paved, I should say what?
I don't have those on an accurate year that we're gonna get to them right now.
Okay.
There's
But
not a whole lot
I guess the
left in
question
there, 'cause
is
we have
it going to be
hits-
during this new budget?
Probably not in this year's.
Probably not. All right.
We would need to go and look. I know that Matt's looked at it on a year-to-year basis, so the idea is we did this last year. It gave us our paving for last fall, this spring, and it's gonna be this upcoming budget year. And then, and so we really it gives us an idea. So we'll have a pretty good idea of maybe a range, but we can't necessarily give a specific year.
Okay. And one other question, probably for Dana. The 150,000 that CPS, we agreed to do away with the signal there where, what was the name of that company that was there where Hobby Lobby is?
CPS?
Yeah, CPS, where that signal, they were supposed to do a signal, $150.
Gander.
Does that come in and, that's been paid? What fund does that go in?
I don't know, I'll have to look that up.
Okay.
I have no idea what that is right now.
Oh, okay. Because it's supposed to be earmarked, for District 4. And also the 135,000, I think it was with the Baird agreement to waive the right turn lane on South Rutland onto Central Pike.
That's correct, yes.
So just curious what funds those go in and making sure that money is still earmarked for District 4.
They are, and I would say, there's been a couple of different, I know we talked about it, I don't know if there's been any formal action, I need to go back and look at those resolutions or ordinances. But, our take on that was that the expenditures, we felt expenditures on, for the signal on Providence Parkway, obviously is gonna be way more than those. That's one option. We're spending the money on South Mount Juliet Road in engineering, which is way, way more than that. And so, I think there's plenty of options out there. I don't know if the idea was that, or a new project, or something smaller. But I think we have plenty of options, but I want to go back and check and make sure what everything was supposed to be allocated to, if there's already decisions made.
Okay.
Because I don't know.
Yeah,
off
if
the
you
top
could
of
just
my
give
head.
me a status.
And if
Right.
those are projects, the expenses coming out of the capital projects fund, then the money would go into the capital projects fund. That's where
Right.
we present that.
But still earmarked, though, for District 4?
No.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. All right, those were all
Was
my
that
questions.
District 4 as it currently is or was?
I'd say probably as it was, when it was passed.
Probably as it was.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.
Next is, planning's budget, and I think Sheila's gonna, are you doing that one?
I'll tackle it.
Are you gonna, okay.
Yes, under planning, thank you, Commissioners. There's two additions, actually, is to add an additional planning technician for the planning department for a total of $53,500, which includes benefits as well. And also the addition of an additional vehicle for 37 and a light bar.
Is that technician for food trucks?
That would be part of it if we get into that, but right now just parks. And that was the only changes under planning, or the only request.
All right. Any questions for this section?
Thank you. The next section will be our bill department and Mr. Mark Kirk.
Good evening.
Mark, you just had two highlights as well.
Yeah, there's just a couple.
Okay.
Page we on?
The first one was in,
57.
Okay, got it, right here.
first highlight we had was in personnel changes. We're not asking for any additional employees this year. But what I'm asking is to increase the pay of our permit techs to get them up even with the planning tech position. I think with all the benefits figured in, I think Dana had that figured at $12,000 divided over the 3 employees.
Is that permit technician, is that, I'm not familiar, so you have to educate me. Is that more of an entry-level position, or what? Where's it?
It's the people that sit up front that write the permits, take the
Gotcha.
inspection request and deal with the public.
Okay.
So we're
Perfect.
just kinda getting them even.
Okay.
We have also asked for, in, uniforms, I've asked to bump that up $500 so we can replace a bunch of worn out jackets that the guys are wearing. In small items of equipment, we've asked for an additional $8,000 there to purchase 2 more two-way radios. I have 2 inspectors that don't have any. And we're asking for 2 additional vehicles, to replace the last 2 escapes that we have in our fleet. And this will get our fleet up to, everything will be the same. And there'll be no, moving forward, if we get these 2 cars, there'll be no need to add that in the budget any longer.
Any longer?
Right.
So you're done?
I'm done.
All right. Did you get that on, we recording that?
Yeah, there should-
No more.
No
It'll
more.
last forever.
I'm staying on there.
Saw that.
We'll Flintstone them at some point down the road.
Hopefully
Gas
it'll last
prices,
a
we
long
may
time.
have to, so.
That's a pretty good sales pitch here, Mark.
Yeah.
Quick question, is there any reason why we went from Ford Escapes to Ford Explorers? I know with gas prices, is it more cost effective or what?
The 2 we've got have got some aging, got some miles on them. The Explorers we're using are 2.4 liter EcoBoost.
Okay.
They're getting about 19 miles a gallon, maybe a little better. So they're really good cars.
Just a better quality?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner, another thing got us on that too, we had the smaller escapes. At one time, of course, Mark is quite a tall guy, and we had another guy who was, I wanna say, 6'6", 6'7",
Yeah.
and just couldn't fit inside
Yeah,
of it.
no, I totally get it. I just
It's
wanna
too
ask.
long.
Yeah.
As long as they're not diesel.
Yeah, as long as they're not diesel, yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, I rent cars a lot and believe me, no, just thought I'd ask, see what's going on there.
I went to rent a car one time, the guy tried to put me in a Fiat.
Yeah.
Did you laugh?
Yeah, I did. I said, look at me and look at that car.
Yeah.
Really.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He upsized himself.
yeah.
Anybody have-
Questions?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
PD next.
PD's up next. Starts at page 58.
Sorry, Dan, I got out of horse and I've got all full of myself with that planning part.
Hey, I'll hand the reins over.
Oh, you got it.
Evening.
Chief?
Going over the highlights, first of all, thank you for your support and what you've done for public safety all over our city with both police and fire, and just a commitment to keep our citizens and those that visit Mount Juliet safe.
Amen.
Some of the highlights from our budget this year is when we look at the personnel first on page 58.
How many total in the department now?
Total.
Mhm.
How many do we have total?
Total in your department,
In the
personnel?
department now? Personnel is, let's see, 64
64?
sworn,
Mhm.
plus another civilian staff. I think with animal control and everything, it's about 90.
Okay. That's a good number. Excellent.
That's paid personnel.
Yep.
Not counting, our reserve.
No, that's perfect.
But what we're doing, I know in the presentation that Dana showed, it showed the 9 positions, but some of those positions are not new positions. For example, we're asking for, if you look on page 58, 2 full-time police officer at the patrolman rank, then 3 positions at the corporal rank, then 1 at the sergeant rank. Those corporals and sergeants, the ranking of them are personnel that's already here. We just wanting the bodies. These are not new personnel that are coming in at these particular ranks. And also, we're asking for 1 dispatcher, a part-time investigative clerk to be moved to full-time at our records clerk pay. Then our current court liaison, and that's Detective Harris, we're asking her that she be reclassified to a sergeant rank in her pay grade. Then codes, we brought codes on to the police department now, so that we could just build that up and really execute a better service and enforcement for our city with the codes department. So we brought that in. So one of these positions is a kind of replacement of one of our officers' positions. They're not only doing the codes, but some of the municipal investigating. They're working on our backgrounds, and we have quite a few backgrounds that they've been tasked to do at this time, backgrounds for the city. So we are asking for that. The next high point, and we'll go back for our personnel, but is in our transportation, and on page 63. You see that within the transportation, that is 3 replacement police vehicles and then 6 vehicles for the new hires. I'll let Captain Chandler explain what is taking place. As one thing that's significant in our budget is probably every budget that in the city is the rising costs and inflation of things. Within our in current budget year that we're in, we put in for vehicles back in August, and haven't received those vehicles yet. So, along with like ammunition and other things, uniforms, everything, the prices are going up. So to address the current vehicle thing, Captain.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Chief mentioned, we ordered police vehicles for this current year budget back in August. We still haven't received them yet, but of course our fleet continues to age. We continue to have crashes that total out vehicles. And replacing a police vehicle, you just can't go buy one out of Walmart or off the lot, right? You have to have a specialized vehicle for that. Since we completed this budget and gave it to you, Ford of Murfreesboro, which is a state bid dealership, had vehicles come available that Metro had some type of error with. Similar vehicles that we use, so we were able to purchase 4 this last week. So we reduced the request for next year. So this will change a little bit when it comes to the table for your first reading, but we reduced our replacement vehicles by 2, so we're just asking for 1 replacement next year. But then you'll also see carryover from this year's other vehicles that we haven't received yet on the first reading for you folks. So that's their equipment as well. And the carryover looks to be about 7 vehicles that will be carried over that we haven't received.
So we can save some money?
A little bit.
A little bit?
It's
More ammunition, right?
The thing about it, we haven't increased the request of vehicles, we haven't decreased it either, we just acquired some a little bit sooner than we thought we would.
That's great, okay.
And we're gonna keep looking after that, because they tell us if we order vehicles in July, it'll be likely another year before we get those vehicles, just with all the different delays that are out there. But we have good relationships with our dealers, and when something falls through the cracks, they give us a call. May not be exactly what we want, but it is a police vehicle that we can use and get on the road and one of our officers in it.
So just kind of curious, so for example, because you had mentioned if we have accidents where our vehicles are taken off, and let's say they're totaled, because I know we've had a couple this past year, what is the time frame that we're getting those back in, from the insurance companies for replacement? I mean, if they're totaled out, shouldn't that be priority, or is that part of the 4 that you were able to pick up?
That is part of the 4. So 2
Man.
of those 4 are for insurance replacements, and then 2 will just kind of get us ahead, right? And so we could reduce our request for next year. But I say to the chief all the time, I hate it when a vehicle gets totaled. I'd rather the body shop repair it and the insurance repair the thing, because I know I'm out of the vehicle, right?
Mhm.
And they just look at that ratio to see if it totals out or not, and they total it on us, and we lose them. And a lot of the crashes that we've seen, such as the one on the interstate where a
Newer
car
cars.
rear-ended, it's not really our fault why
Yeah.
they're getting totaled out.
The insurance is covering 100% of the replacement cost? Or are we having to come out of pocket for
No,
some of it?
they're taking the.
When they're
year-
totaled.
Prorated?
Yeah.
The good thing is, it seems like recently, I don't know if it's the effort from Dana or HR, but they're also going after costs to stripe the vehicle, to do the vehicle installations of emergency equipment, and also our emergency equipment on the vehicle. So it seems like we're getting more money than we ever have before on replacements. And with the, you mentioned the cost about used vehicles, sometimes the replacement money that comes in is more than what we pay for these cars.
Mhm.
It may just be off the bill.
There's been a directed focus on it on all city equipment, any kind of city equipment whatsoever, guardrails, you name it, streets damaged, the pipe on Old Lebanon Dirt Road, when the truck crashed and damaged that, we go after that as well. We've started doing that a few years ago, and we're just getting more in depth, to be honest with you, because we feel like we need to try to get back every penny that was lost of taxpayers' money.
The money really isn't a big deal for us, because we do get it back for replacement. It's actually just the time that this vehicle's
Yeah.
down that we can't get it replaced. That takes a while. Other things that are taking a while are vehicle repairs. We've had cars sit at Ford for weeks on end. It's not their fault. There's been times when we've pulled cars out of Ford and sent them to another dealership because they had the staff to be able to fix it, unlike our local Ford maybe didn't have the staff at the time to fix the vehicle. But we're looking at different options just to try to get us ahead through these times with the delays that are out there. we've had our uniform pants we couldn't get, so we had a different version of uniform pant temporarily. Because the pants were stuck on some ship that wasn't coming in yet.
Goodness.
We can go on and on.
High cost of building back better.
But in capturing, especially back at the personnel, and you look at the different ranks, one of these things is not to be just top rank heavy. What we're doing is we're planning going to 12-hour shifts versus 8-hour shifts. With our 12-hour shifts, you would have A, B, C, and D squad. There's some benefits that we found to these squads. So where these personnel work, say A squad, A detail, they work all at the same time. They're in training all at the same time. They're all at the same time. And so we believe that's one of the benefits. Secondly, we have always, we've tried to be a proactive agency, meaning we are not just reacting to crime and things. We want to be proactive and try to divert and deter as much crime as possible. With that, our men and women have to be out, they have to be visible and approachable. You have to see them. And so here, you know, with this year especially, we've had different challenges with personnel, whether it be through pregnancies, through people injured and being out. And so we've been down, you know, some. And so to have the personnel that we're requesting to have those available to when somebody's out on vacation or whatnot, that this year we've been running on shift minimums. And I mean, and, you know, we don't really like to be at the minimum for the safety and protection of our citizens and for our officers. So we have to do that and monitoring what's happening. As Captain, he uses a term all the time that we're playing defense because there are a couple of things that have happened. And one, you guys have supported us and greatly. We certainly appreciate that as far as our LPR system. And that LPR system, our guardianship program, is really effective. I don't say that the bad thing, it's a good thing when we make an arrest off of that program. But when that officer makes that arrest, he or she, they're gone out and, you know, that's one less body actually out here on patrol. So that's one reason. But it's a good program and it's been very beneficial. One thing we're looking at now is the state's mandate or law, changing the law of people in public parks addressing the homeless issue. If you haven't looked at that, these people are going to be dispersing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be on the defensive trying to keep our citizens and our community from being bombarded with tent cities in our area, because they're moving and they're going to move somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving in our woods right now over on Lebanon Road.
Right. So, I mean, we're going to try to, you know,
Yep.
just another task that, you know, our officers are going to be tasked with as it relates to personnel requests and what we're needing to keep our citizens safe.
Chief, can I speak to that a little bit? The reason you see that the codes department is moving to police, that's a trend across the country. We've talked about it for a few years now. I want to commend the police department for welcoming that. Tent cities, aggressive panhandling, which you're seeing more and more of.
Yeah.
They can respond to that and address that a whole lot better than a civilian employee can. Something about showing up in that uniform, for example, if you're talking about the tent city down at Hickory Hills, we disperse that. That's where City Beautiful can come in. Codes can find it, codes can address it. We can go in City Beautiful and remove tents. Most of the time it's built out of pallets, things of that nature, whatever you can bring in. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to head off. So I want to commend the police department for letting us transition that and move to the police department. I think it's already paying dividends. And you just have a day and time right now where a lot of people just will not pay attention to somebody trying to enforce a code in a civilian uniform. They've got body cameras. There's certain training they can go through. Of course, they have weapons and things of that nature. It just makes a difference. So thank you all for doing that.
Are our city codes up to date on that? Are they,
As far as panhandling,
and well, like the tents?
I think so, yeah. It's something that we're looking at to see if there's ways, you know, and, of course, with changing laws and things of that nature, that impacts us sometimes in not a positive way.
We do have some amendments coming your way. They're in the review process with us as a command staff that our code staff has submitted to us to be able to handle high grass a lot faster. There's something to deal with roosters that is forthcoming.
Thank you.
Something to,
Some things never change, but some.
yeah, something to clean up what we have just to give us some more ability to enforce codes. But I do think we'll be able to highlight the codes effort a lot better simply with our existing systems, right? Because we can track the offenses through our computer system the same way we track calls for service, right? It's really no different. It's just a different avenue of maybe attacking it and then looking at ways we can help said individual with codes issues. Is it their problem thing, or do they have other issues going on? That's something we can help out with a nonprofit to help them get through whatever issue they have with high grass or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
I know this ain't much with the budget side of it, but I do have a question. So with the code side of it, because I know we actually went through a situation this weekend where I was driving up Lebanon Road and there was an SUV, big Suburban, had strobe lights right there, right across the street from Tractor Supply. Had all the strobes, and it was very, you know, again, you're thinking cars are going up and down the street, and all it was like a poker rally, right? Well, again, if they're serving food, we go back to what we were looking at earlier, which was vending down there. They're serving food, they had sales, everything. Now, how is that going to work for the police department to know if that permit was pulled after hours? Because I know that was the biggest question. And you guys responded greatly, by the way. I think there was like 4 officers deep, which was pretty impressive on a
Yeah, I
set.
think they ran them off. They dispersed pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, they came back quickly too. So that's the question I have is that, you know, how is it the officers, and maybe we can get on another side topic because that's more of a budget side. But
Yeah,
anyways,
it
just to kind of throw a
depends
little
on-
nugget out
on
there.
what exactly is occurring or what we think's occurring.
Sure.
You know, and we have to, we just can't jump in on
I know.
someone's private property and send them on their way if it is truly lawful activity. But it's observation. It's eventually maybe talking to that property owner after the fact to prevent it from happening a second time, right?
Sure.
And seeing what exactly was pulled, working with Jennifer or Jill in the planning and other codes department downstairs just to see what's happened. And they're pretty good, Jill and Jennifer. They will let us know when certain things have been done or not done, so we know to look at it, to try to head it off if we can.
Okay.
Do I send the request for roosters to you?
That's Hickory Hills, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a lot of good things coming with codes. We haven't released it yet, because we're waiting on some infrastructure IT stuff to come through, but citizens will be able to report it through C-Click Fix. We're
Nice.
setting up a phone hotline that any citizen can call that goes to the codes enforcement officers, but we're also setting up a dedicated email, so any of y'all can use this email address to submit something that you have, so it goes to all of our codes enforcement, and any of them can tackle it and respond back to you quickly as they're handling these different issues. It won't be the thing where you always have to call Mr. Martin about something. I don't think that you don't have to if you want to, but we're just trying to streamline it as best as possible, so there is that easy access to the codes enforcement officer to tackle these problems as they come up.
Well, I do have a lady who's looking to get three roosters so she can have fresh eggs. And I may not be woke enough to know that, but I don't think that's going to work out for her.
Going I just go over these, the other highlights as far as our city court status quo, animal control. You see we have 9% increase from last fiscal year. A special storage facility, 22% increase, that's $8,000, and that's for the addition of a cleaning service contract and the what we call the rug service contract. Our police headquarters, you see probably 11% decrease. That should say increase to 10,400 again for additional cleaning fees and funding for maintenance. Our drug fund is 22% decrease, and that's 13.5 from last year. So going just through, you guys have any questions on any particular page?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just ask about the second K-9.
Yeah, second K-9 was funded out of this budget year. Citron is dog's name, but he's.
Citron,
Citron.
Transformer.
Yeah, he is down in Florida right now with Officer Jordan Brown, and they're getting along very well. The reports about this dog are very good. They say he is well-mannered, listens very well, he's very smart, and we're looking forward to having him back in about 5 weeks.
All right, and do you have plans for a third one in this next budget year?
Not in this
Or
budget.
not this one? Okay.
This is actually K-10.
Huh? K-10?
But with our budget, we try to be as conservative as we can because we have a building we're trying to build too, right?
Right.
Which there are some fees captured in this budget, but the building itself is not, because we're still in those design fees. And now we just have the contractor on board to help with this design and doing what Mr. Barlow said about value engineering and trying to keep this cost down as best as we can.
Any additional Guardian Shield cameras in the future?
We've put a few dollars in there for a little bit extra Guardian Shield just to fill some holes, but overall, we're pretty adequate.
Okay.
Where we're at. We
It's the
really
last
would like-
5 feet of city that wasn't covered.
The last last couple 5 feet, but right now we haven't determined those spots yet. It just depends. But sometimes we see a need and we need to put something out there.
I do owe you a call, a meeting.
Sure.
I do, and Dana, happy to join us. I want to understand the pay scales, the top outs. More importantly, when we're recruiting new patrol officers, are we accounting for their experience, years of experience, or are we just bringing somebody in at entry level? We don't have to answer that today, but these are some of the questions, because there's a lot of good talent out there right now that's leaving law enforcement agencies for whatever reasons, extremely experienced and skilled. I just want to make sure that in our recruiting efforts, our pay is attracting those experienced officers. Nothing against a new recruit, but if we can attract somebody that's got 10 years
I
of
think-
experience, we need to make sure that their pay is
Sure.
in line with somewhat, hopefully above somebody that doesn't, it's not certified.
We discussed that briefly amongst staff, not Dana involved, but just Chief I and Deputy Chief Mullins. The only concern that we see about offering something like that is we have officers that we've just hired that have experience, and they've came to work for us at a certain rate. So if we brought someone in that maybe has the same level of experience at a same agency and brought them in higher, it just may create a little bit of conflict there. I think we just want to be sure we try to benefit all with that experience that we've brought on recently in a way.
I'll say
But-
this, and I thank the city manager and finance because people that we brought in with experience, they don't just start out at the low beginning thing. We were able to move them up a couple tiers and bring them in a couple tiers, more than just a entry level. So that's one of the things. And as you stated, just like with every industry that I know of, law enforcement is no different now as far as being able to retain personnel. We've been short for some time, but thank God we're not as short as most of the agencies that are around us that are experiencing. I mean, Murfreesboro, for example.
Metro's bad. Really bad.
Has 18 in the academy now, and they're still, with 18 in the academy, they're still 18 short, even when these come out. And so Smyrna, Laverne, Hendersonville, everybody around, the experiencing, because the pool in law enforcement is not growing like what we're doing more so is moving parts around, as you
Yeah.
said, people around. So
Yeah.
we're blessed in that regard.
Commission, that's why we want to brag on this commission. The reason they're not seeing a lot of that is because of what you guys did in the city last year and have done in recent years, including this year, when it comes to personnel and benefits, pay,
Sure.
equipment, things of that nature. Everybody that's paying dividends. Big
When
time.
we interview and we talk to these recruits that are applying for us, they see the community support that we have. They see the support from our elected officials, specifically mentioned by them each and every time, and they see the culture that we have in the agency where we back our officers, we let them go police, but do it respectfully, right? And that's what draws them this way. we're able to attract a lot of officers that may have a spouse that just pays more, right? So they're able to take that pay cut from these larger agencies that pay significantly more and work for us. But we also attract a lot of brand-new people in law enforcement where they see kind of what we do. But I do think it's important to have this meeting with you because we do need to continue to work on pay and not get stagnant in it, right?
Right.
Because it's rapidly changing. Other agencies are rapidly changing around us, and they do look at that. They also look at how do we run our shifts, a lot like the 12-hour shifts. When we did our department survey, 70% said they wanted to move to 12-hour shifts, and that's why we wanted to do that as a staff to make that happen. And because a lot of other agencies don't do 12 hours, and then there's some that do, they're more attracted to that work schedule where they're off every other weekend.
And how is that seen right now? I mean, have we seen any officers that decided to leave after that, or was it just more of they're feeling out to see how?
So it goes into effect July 1.
Okay.
Of course, you have the few that say, well, we're leaving it if this happens. But the majority truly want it, and I think it'll be a better lifestyle for the overwhelming majority for our staff.
How does that work with, what do you do, 36 hours one week and 48 the other? Do you run into overtime or
Yeah, it
issues?
does run into overtime. Out of 2 weeks, it's 84 hours. Rather than an 80-hour 2-week period, it goes to 84-hour 2-week period.
Are you paying 8 hours of overtime then 1 week? Or is it just the 4 hours combined total?
It'll be on a 2-week basis, not a 40-week.
Okay.
40-hour week basis. It'll be an 84 every 2 weeks before they get overtime.
Perfect.
And how is that, for example, because I know just talking to some of the officers, their only concern, which was, and I think I mentioned it, I just want to bring it back up, just because I talked in, I guess, one-on-one with some of the folks, which was officers come in, sometimes they have to come in early for their shift, stay late for whatever reason, and it sounded like this 12-hour shift was going to help eliminate a lot of that overlapping. Is that still the case of what we're looking at?
Yes, and there'll be a component of officers, a couple that will have a overlapping.
So you're just staggering it?
Just staggering.
Okay.
So, and there are other things that we've done. When you look at the court liaison officer, for example, that is minimize the amount of time that an officer has to go at court, because that court liaison is the one doing the representation of that officer. And unless the judge actually has to have that officer, they will let them know and then call them in. But for the most part, their time that they've been spending in court has been very minimal.
That's good.
Why don't we just pay them a salary? My mine's private sector, so we're paying hourly wages and we're paying overtime. Why don't we pay a flat salary?
And if we do that, then we might as well look at the vacation time as well. Might as well get and.
Well, you have a,
I mean,
We're up whatever way we could be more competitive.
I don't know, did that sound like a wild thought and idea? The room went completely quiet.
You blew their mind.
We could look into that.
I mean, that way you don't have to worry about overtime, you don't have to, you're not punching clocks,
I do
you
know
just.
that overtime is a benefit to a lot of these officers. They look forward to the overtime in some areas.
Yeah.
And I don't know if
I'm
the
not saying
salary-
paying them a salary to take advantage of them,
Sure.
so they end up making less per
Right.
hour.
Making it better.
You know, maybe you run a parallel, we used to do this.
There's certain rules, though, to pay somebody's salary.
Yeah.
Like they have to,
job classifications.
they have to meet certain criteria to pay them salary. Like a certain wage per hour, and they have to be able to make certain decisions and supervise. It's a lot of stuff to do. You can't just say, we're gonna pay them salary.
Yeah. I've got
Okay.
people, for me, working, making over 70,000 a year that I can't put on salary. They have to be hourly because of the job classification. There was a time where nobody got paid that kind of money that wasn't on salary.
Okay. All right, just throwing it out there.
Those are the highlights. Any
We'll have a
questions?
different administration, and they'll change the rules again.
True.
Just a quick question. I mean, obviously, you know, as things are going up, and I'm gonna ask the same thing to those gentlemen behind you, do we have a good attic stock for what we need to be able to make sure that we don't run into a problem where it becomes a safety issue on our equipment, you know? I'm just asking that, because right now, we're gonna be paying for, let's just say we need 3 widgets, and there's 2 of them that there's 2 officers using it. We have a third one sitting on the shelf, and we know that widget is gonna be needed at some point in time because it's gonna break. So are we looking at that, and is it in this budget? It's because right now, today, we may pay $100 for that widget, but a year from now, or 6 months, we may pay $250 for that widget.
What we have captured in the budget, Commissioner, I believe that we'll be fine.
That's the attic stock that we have. Do we have enough ammo?
We will if we can get it from
No,
there.
just because we can get it doesn't mean that we got it. I mean, it's always good to have it.
No,
We'll
we
look
have
in the
enough
woods around Hickory
right
Hills.
now.
Yeah, just look in the woods, around Acre Hills.
Yeah, we have enough now, but,
Okay.
I mean, continuing on for another year, you know.
Yeah, I just know the state bought a lot and they got a pretty good deal on it here recently, so they just had a big old truckload that dropped off at one of our own buildings, so it was kind of interesting, but it's just, you know, the officers gotta have so many, you know, hours and make sure that their coverage and,
But even with the passage of the budget, once we're able to order.
Yeah.
We've been saying that it takes time.
Yeah.
To get it in.
I understand. Just wanna make sure we got enough widgets.
If I don't have any more questions, this
What
will
do
be
you
my
do with your
last
brass?
one, but
After
the,
you like target practice?
the IT generator,
Sell it.
200K for that.
Just the
If
casing,
we're looking to
the
build a
brass
new
part,
police
sell it.
station, does it make sense to keep pursuing this?
Y'all ever thought about
It will go
just,
to the cost of that generator
getting one of
being
those
put in
machines.
wherever it goes.
So we wouldn't put it in the new building and then,
It's just gonna
Oh,
be,
really?
cover the cost of it.
okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Thanks.
Ambulance department next.
No, I don't.
That was a good one. I like it. Easement.
I didn't think I'd be here. I got my loosest pair of pants.
Kidney stones. You go past those? Or am I thinking?
I think it came last night. I was just shaking.
is it cold in here, do y'all? Freeze?
I've had every temperature possible today, so it is a little
You cold?
Yeah.
bit.
Warm.
Scott's warm. He's got on a coat. Jennifer's like wrapping herself.
I know, I
Like,
normally have a jacket on.
I turned it up.
Oh. You cold too, good. I'm not the only one. Well, Chrissy's got her her sweater on.
I can't find freaking contacts. I'm squinting at everybody. Trying to look at their faces.
ain't none of us right tonight.
I might have to get some tea or sweet tea or, I don't know, is there lemon? Get an Arnold Palmer?
Who?
Who?
Is there some lemonade back there?
Yeah, we can wait. Travis, are you last? Cause you gotta turn the recorder off.
Yeah, he won't know which one to call King. Right.
Okay, while Ray Render dropped off these reports from Walker Cross Wilson. Said some of y'all had been questioning them and wanting the results, so I'm passing them out.
Oh, the walk?
Yes, the Mount Juliet P-PAC came in #1 on community groups and will be receiving $1,500 to their 501c3.
How was your trip?
Oh, it was wonderful. Rain helped off, so they got to do it outside.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that was okay.
Oh, good.
working theory. I thought I had a fever. I couldn't quit shaking.
That was your body trying to ward off the,
Yeah, but I didn't have a fever.
oh, you didn't?
Had nothing. Stayed normal. But I still had the chills and I just couldn't. And Tracy goes, oh yeah, it's a symptom. Thank you, baby.
You know I don't like to talk that
Were you able to get any sleep?
Yeah. I finally peed and went to bed. It's like I had to go, but couldn't.
So, something come out?
I don't know, it's dark. It hurt like hell.
My mother-in-law has, shingles. Down the side of her neck. That's the most horrible thing I've ever. Like your fourth
Who does?
My mother-in-law.
You ready? All right. Well, we were originally going to follow up on Rocky's approach of Hail Mary on the first play of the game, but since y'all torpedoed out of that, we're going to shift. I would like to have some opening comments for the record, if I could, please. Appreciate your time and your consideration for this. I do want to thank you for last year's benevolence in approving the budget request and statement of proposed operations. We're hopeful that you're pleased with the return on investment highlighted by the lower ISO rating. Your considerations are evident of your proven approach to adequately provide safety to our city. I'd also like to recognize the Deputy Chief for his tremendous effort on this year's budget request. I have personally witnessed his enthusiasm and desire to continue to build this department into one with the capabilities of properly serving the citizens, visitors, and businesses of Mount Juliet. I'd also like to thank the city manager and the deputy city manager for their faith, guidance, and support in our daily operations. They too share your thoughts on safety for our citizens as well as the department heads that are so enjoyable to work with. And with that, I will turn it over to the deputy chief for our brief budget highlights.
We hope it's
No
gonna-
pressure.
Tried, man.
Yeah, we hope it's gonna be that
I
way.
threw the net.
No pressure.
We hope it's gonna be that way. I'd like to, obviously, you guys have read through it, so you see what the budget looks like, and you know that there's two parts. I'd like to do the fire part first, because I feel like there might be less questions with it, because it's, for the most part, it's pretty status quo. I guess I've heard that term several times tonight, but a little bit of changes. Operating items, there was a little bit of increase, but it's really the minimal stuff. It really has to do with the big other word, inflation, as well as adding a station. Some of the things that we noticed of numbers that grew, certainly everybody else mentioned it here. PP and fuel for us, it's the same way. I can't explain why it's that way, but it is. And then general utilities, and then certainly when you add employees, keeping them abreast of all the changes that go on, especially a dynamic world such as emergency services. So, putting that back into them in their education, their training. So really for operating, that's pretty much it. We did make the PowerPoint show tonight on adding personnel. I know we did that last year as well. That led to a lot of the significance of the change for the ISO. The goal here as well is to think of the ISO in a way that it's maintained as well as enhanced for the future. And that's what this budget's gonna do with the approved positions, such as our goals to add the extra personnel on top of what we currently have. This puts us, and I did include and more of a visual person, so I did put you an organizational chart in there that kind of shows you what we're leaning towards with having at least 16 per day. I know the police chief mentioned it, and I have to echo, there are numerous times that we run at minimum staffing on a daily basis. It's not because we are understaffed, I guess, per se, but a lot of it, by the time you factor in You know, people taking off, you know, we have people that are injured. We have an employee right now that's injured indefinitely for a workplace injury. Several other things that lead to that. So that we do run at minimum a lot of times. So just because we say the ideal number for us at the end of the day is 16, which NFPA 1710 requires at minimum that we have at least a certain amount of firefighters on scene. And so this kind of just stays in line with what ISO says that is kind of our benchmark, if you will. So that's what we're shooting for as well. In this personnel addition as well, to the extra firefighters is you'll see a fire marshal position. I can't say how many times that, I know Mark Kirk's not here to mention it, but so many different times we're getting hit with numerous questions from the planning aspect all the way down to fire protection systems in place, just tons and tons of jobs that currently, right now, between the chief and I and another captain that's on duty, we do get it done, but there's a lot of needed time that needs to be invested in this position. That has to do with life safety from every single building, especially commercial building that's built in the city, as well as apartment complexes. So that position is in here as well. And then you also notice in the personnel additionals that you have multiple internal promotions. That's been talked a lot about. We want to promote from within, and doing all this together basically falls in line with that. With engineer, we're currently doing a lieutenant assessment this week, as well as an additional a backfill of a captain as we anticipate there to be a lot of upward movement in the fire department, people just taking different jobs. So from there, I'll go into some of the capital items, highlights. Once again, the fire department here, we don't, a lot of cities will ask for $300,000, $500,000 plus to outfit all the SCBA's at one time. We decided not to do that. We've decided to do it on an annual basis and hitting little marks as we go to get rid of the pieces, the old pieces, and bring in the new pieces. You also see some technical or rescue equipment. It's rapid intervention equipment for our people. That's what we use to save our own firefighters. Our equipment now is 10 plus years old. It is what they would consider in the safety world is obsolete for technology that integrates with what our firefighters currently wear. So once again, a huge safety item that we would like. Also with the addition, 2 sets of jaws of life, we are anticipating the central area is pretty much taken care of. And for all that said, all the zones are taken care of. This is more or less an enhancement. We do see a number of increased wrecks on Lebanon Road, as well as on the south part of town, such as Interstate and in Providence area, that require more than 1 jaws of life at a time. And so we're hoping that we add the more than one in each zone as well. So that's the reason for that. You'll notice NFPA 1971 non-compliant PPE. The fire department's fixing to be turning 10 years old recently. Turnout gear, according to 1971, is no good after a 10-year shelf life. It's really for safety reasons. Our fire department's coming kind of at that little crossroads where everything was purchased at one time back many years ago, and now that stuff now is beginning to kind of become obsolete and being what they would consider non-compliant. We don't want to jeopardize the safety of the firefighters, as well as having that gear even a chance that they might put it on. And it also puts the city at liability having our firefighters wear. And if we did have a line of duty injury or death, the city could be found liable for that. So that's the major reason for that. Another high priority list for us, you probably noticed that we operate, I know the mayor saw us in a recent thing at Station 1, the QRVs as we call them, our quick response vehicles that usually outfit a paramedic as well as an AEMT. Those vehicles are currently used by old police cars that we've taken the striping off, redone the lights, put new striping on. They've about wore their welcome out. They've been very beneficial. I mean, I will say that. We've ran them for a year and a half. now, and I can tell you, just from a budget standpoint, they probably saved us at least 30,000 or more in year one. So essentially, I do think the vehicles, in essence, pay for themselves. When you talk about fuel, when you talk about wear and tear, tires, oil changes alone, our fire apparatus to service an engine as well as do a tire rotation can be upwards of $5,000 to $6,000. So what Andy Barlow mentioned about them being able to, and we've had those discussions, maybe them start doing a lot more of our general maintenance stuff, not the big ticket items, but general maintenance, it will cut down tremendously. But these new quick response vehicles, the pricing that you see, it does include all the equipment, lighting, striping, radios, similar to what the police department said. These vehicles, it's not typically your standard vehicle. It's they typically have after costs with all the stuff that you have to put on them to make them compliant. The next piece for the capital item, $60,000 for a mobile air supply unit. I'll be blunt with you. This is a wish for us. We currently have no way to fill SCBA bottles on a scene. So when I say a wish, it's not necessarily a particular need, but it is a thought to the safety of the firefighter. Currently, right now, if something happened on scene, we would have to load those, whether in my pickup truck or another pickup truck, and we would have to take those back to our Station 1, refill the bottles, and then bring them there to the scene. So while it does work, it's probably not the most efficient way. The county recently acquired a mobile air supply unit as well, and after seeing it, it made a lot of sense for us to follow suit and to get something, because we have no way to fill air cylinders, and we only bring a certain amount. To a scene anyway, being they're carried on the apparatus. Then the last thing you'll see, this is kind of a note in here that we have applied for a grant for this that you guys may or may not remember. Back, I want to say January, February timeframe, we've actually applied for 2 grants. That money has not been, we don't know who's going to be awarded the money yet. We anticipate that it will probably be after, the federal government's fiscal year. So I don't know, I've got some friends in East Tennessee that told me that you can likely expect that award to be notified July, August timeframe. So this is really less a contingency. I don't want us to miss out on still moving from BLS to ALS fire engines just because I'm putting all my faith in a grant that somebody's going to read my narrative and hopefully give me that. So the hope is we're going to receive the grant, but I wanted to put something in place just in the event that we were unsuccessful, that we had something to move towards that direction of moving from BLS to ALS and giving our people more of our citizens that are more of a chance at survival, especially when it comes to the capabilities that what ALS brings them. So we do have 2 grants out, $90,000 worth of EMS monitors, and then $1.8 million in a SAFER grant that we applied for 9 firefighters. But we will probably not hear back from that until July or August. So hopeful, but we don't know yet. So with that, I'll ask if you got any questions for the fire side. Yes, sir.
Again, I'm always thinking about, your cool toys that you always say, but I'm always thinking about what's the best interest for our firefighters. I know you and I have talked about the infrared cameras. Those things are very expensive, but they do a great job. Is that something that we have, and do we have one on each truck, or is it just one in general?
We can, as far as our gas and our atmospheric monitoring, we did apply for a 3rd grant and were successful. That's the firehouse grant that I know the city manager mentioned to y'all in the last commission meeting. Those monitors have been purchased, and that will allow us, every single station will have atmospheric monitoring, the newest, latest, and greatest, at essentially no cost to our taxpayers.
That's great. Okay. Thank you.
When is the planned grand opening?
So that's a good question. I will tell you, in our opinion, we feel like it's moving a little bit slower than normal. We do have a meeting set for Wednesday to meet with this. We've been told all along though, August 1, August 1, August 1. So, you know, we don't wanna build a fire station and have 3 people per day in it. That's not I don't think it's even our city or our commission's, idea to be safety conscious and have that. So, if it's August 1 or September 1, we wanna be able to say that we're ready to go, and, we're gonna get all these puzzle pieces in line to make them fit right away, so they're not waiting on us essentially.
Okay.
We did do, to speak on it, to show you the transition and the speed that which we're working, we did conduct firefighter interviews that we were able to retain. We do have a current hiring list, that was good for 180 days, and we're very hopeful that that's gonna take effect here, where we don't have to, that those are a simple phone call versus having to go through a whole process.
So you're gonna start offering in July?
Absolutely.
How many
That's
from
certainly the
WEMA?
goal.
How many from WEMA are we picking up?
No, how many are
Need to
coming to us?
confirm
Yeah,
or deny.
it'd be unprofessional to say.
Okay.
It'd be unprofessional to say,
I
but I
understand.
will tell you.
Well, we're not on camera. I thought I'd just ask.
There are,
Yeah, we are.
We are? Oh, all right.
there are a few.
I didn't see the little light up there that we were on.
But that being said, we have a few from a lot of other, notable fire departments around Middle Tennessee area.
Okay.
As well as out of state.
I think we just choose the best, no matter where they're from.
We actually, our hiring panel put together the best list possible, so they rank in order. That's pretty standard for.
That's good.
We don't actively recruit from any department, though. do we?
Correct.
Thank you.
The tanks, how long, I'm just curious, air lasts in the tanks? Hour, 20 minutes?
What they're rated
Hour,
at versus
2 hours?
what a real firefighter will go down is completely different.
Yeah.
About
I can
5
tell you
minutes
in
for me.
experience, you know, what we operate off of are, 45-minute cylinders is what they're
Okay.
rated at, a 4,500 PSI bottle. I can tell you, you'd be at best to get half of that out of it.
Yeah.
Most firefighters working, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of stress, on their body. In METs, you probably know the term METs if you do a lot of working out. Their METs are at an all-time peak high, and you'd be lucky to. Typically, they say out of a 45-minute bottle you'll get 20, and out of a 30-minute bottle you're liable to do 10 to 15. A lot of depends on the shape of the firefighter. As in shape, I mean their physical shape.
Huffing and puffing.
Some make them last longer than others.
Yeah, they're good with their breathing techniques.
Correct. But stressful events do cause them to lose it a lot faster.
Does WEMA usually bring their mobile air supply?
They
in?
will if requested.
Okay.
Absolutely. So yes, sir. That's you get it. So, yep,
You don't have to say anymore.
yep. It depends on if they have staffing to bring it to me.
That's why I was
I
asking.
wasn't gonna go there.
Sorry.
That's why I was asking. Just didn't know what options
And
we
I
had.
noticed Justin reports, Justin Beasley reports up to you? I didn't even realize that. I
It's a
thought-
dotted line or a solid line?
Dotted.
When did that
Okay.
come about? Kenny, I thought he reported.
They
to you.
don't have their own, and, like the police department did, and so since
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of information to get out, basically he helps the entire city.
Okay.
We put him in.
I mean, I'm not questioning it, I
We
just, I
we
saw
include
him on
him in
there
our
as- seemed
organizational
random,
chart to
but-
be part of our team.
Okay.
We feel Justin's a very integral part of the team. He's there at all of our major events. He was there for the train
We
derailment.
got him a fire hat.
He was there.
That's all he needed payment-wise.
He was there for our train derailment, and one of the very first things, besides talking to Captain Chandler, I said, "Can you put this on Facebook? Tell people to avoid the area." And so he's just as effective for us as a responder. So that's why he's included.
Okay. All right, very good.
And same for public works, things that nature, like we had the tornado, we had enough for that.
How's our overall volunteer?
It's down. And not a lot of people want to volunteer anymore. Things are so expensive. It's $4.50 a gallon to drive to an emergency scene that you get paid $0 for. It's not really, exciting for them, and they just don't. We do have a few volunteers that are committed to it, but it's rare. I will tell you that in other places across our state, it's even becoming more rare, and another major crossroads. Big recruitment retention effort, but who could afford to leave their family and put themselves at risk for $0? And
Yeah, well,
our
that's kind
people
of
aren't really, most of the people nowadays aren't really born for that. They don't really like that.
It definitely takes I mean, it's volunteer, so they know they're not getting paid. So it takes a special individual
I
that's got
agree.
it in their heart to do
They're
that.
still the unsung heroes in the fire service.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be too, you'd get a lot of volunteers that volunteer because they had a desire to get into fire service.
Right.
So you get a lot of the free training on the front end, and then at some point transition.
And we did that on the very beginning in the early years. A lot of the folks that are full-time now with us were volunteers at the time. And I mean, that's always still open. We've since increased our qualifications and certifications to be a member of the department, but we still have the capability of growing them from within the volunteer fire department. We offer them the training, and they're certainly, you come to one of our fire scenes and you won't be able to tell which one is a volunteer, which one's not.
On the books right now, we have currently 12. We have probably about 8 that are more active. Some of them still lack certain qualifications to be able to be into an IDLH atmosphere.
When was the last time we put out a promotional piece or?
We did last year, and that's the ones that we currently have.
Okay.
It got less than 10 people. And we got to, out of that, only 8 started continually showing up. That's part of what we have.
Do we do that, you do this every year to try to keep?
For this year's
'cause
budget
people-
wise, because it does take, it takes a commitment to outfit them. Just because I have one body, a standard set of turnout gear in today's world costs you $3,200. An air pack costs you $5,500. So now we're getting up into $10,000 per person. So I only have a certain allotment for the amount of equipment that I have. And I will say for the return of our investment and return for your investment, sometimes it doesn't always right now make total sense to have a free person that I might show up versus a dedicated person that will show up.
What's the minimum standard for a house fire? Was it 14?
16.
The 16.
16. So we're actually looking at something that's going to get us 16 on scene?
Yes.
This will,
Give us the opportunity to get 16 on scene.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, and it may or may not make much sense to you all, but this budget also will allow us to staff a full-time aerial truck, which is critical for the deployment during ISO. Currently, we do not do that at all.
We've relied on volunteers primarily for that one, haven't
Always.
we? Yeah.
And I've seen, just to be totally transparent, I've seen the breakdown of our ISO rating, our 3. It's taken from communications, it's taken from water supply, it's taken from community risk reduction, and then the big piece is the actual fire department. We made significant increases, improvements in the water supply, the communications, and the community risk reductions. We didn't gain a single 10th of a point for fire department, which goes for the number of people, the deployment priorities, the staffing of the ladders. There's a lot of things we need to do to turn our focus in now, because we've done real well with the other 3 factors that are calculated. We need to turn our attention inward now and see if we can do that, because that's how, when we talk about ISO getting there and staying there, that's how it's going to happen. Because we've just about maxed out on communication, water supply, and community risk reduction. So that's why a lot of this, when we sat down, our first conversations after ISO was, okay, we need to concentrate our efforts in the direction within.
So water supply is what, 40%?
40.
Communications 10?
10.
So you've still got half your points hanging out there.
Yeah,
Correct.
yes. And see, we got those 3 factors at a point right now where we can manipulate them and direct them with way less effort now than we did years past. So that's why the majority percentage of our focus is within the department. See what we can do, because we've got a breakdown of all the things that acquire points in ISO. And so those things we're prioritizing, and we're going to target those in order.
I will say this, for the population growth from the last audit, had we not staffed appropriately the extra 9 firefighters, then hired the additional 3 firefighters that were asked for and received, we would have probably gone backward instead of maintain at the level during this past ISO audit. So I will say, to the chief's point, that he is very correct. We didn't go up, but we didn't go backwards, and you can go backwards as easy as you can go up.
We lost 0.3 of a point, but it was minutia as far as the overall rating.
The
and
gains
everything. Yeah,
offset it.
we went from 27.71 to 27.40. So, but that's just watching our growth and the city's growth basically parallel, and we've still got some opportunities for some upward momentum to gain those points and solidify that 3, because we're a 3, but I'd like to be a comfortable 3 and a realistic outlook for a 2.
And this fire budget does reflect that, with being able to staff certain vehicles to do that.
Quick question, just because I know, obviously, we're sitting on a lot of data, but maybe we're not collecting it. Are you guys, are you guys, I guess as a city, and this is off the budget side, but it's also towards the budget side, with the amount of development that we do have coming into the city, are we taking that data and are we applying it to future growth for the equipment and the staffing,
Yes, sir,
right? And that's,
I could tell you that in February of, March of this year, we were at 3587. I can tell you that in April, we jumped to 3,600 plus calls. And then I ran it literally before I walked in here. Today, last year to today, this year, we're almost at 3,800 calls. So I can tell you the data that we're getting, it's only gonna, with the population and with the amount of calls that we have, if we don't keep staffing vehicles, there would be, right now it's 34% of different overlaps of where, caller number 5 would be unavailable to have a vehicle. And we had the same discussion today with another Middle Tennessee fire chief that called. They're missing calls because they don't have enough staff in place. So we're trying to get on the forefront of that. Call it data, call it population growth, whatever it is. You gotta stay in front of it. If not, it's more than ISO ratings. It's really death, because people aren't there to answer a call.
well, that's what I'm saying is so are we taking the data that's being developed when it comes to, let's say we have a developer that comes in, let's say they want to build 300 homes. Is that being tracked for when the project's being done, being
The
implemented?
fire marshal position will be able to do that. That's another significance of why they're gonna be there, from the planning to the process of the build, to the end, to the CO, to everything.
And that's gonna be, so that individual's gonna be over working with the different boards, whether if it's in planning or B.O.C., whatever, it's gonna be
Yes,
all
sir.
in there, okay.
What we did last year, Brent and I held a class, in-house class, and we were able to bring 15 of our firefighters to Fire Inspector 1. So there's your team. Now they need a leader, and that's what we have done here. The fire marshal right now does 9 different inspections, everything from fire plans, site plans, to fire caulking and above ceiling inspections, and so they do that. And then what this person will group with as the leader is, he'll continue to meet. We've got plans review with staff.
Yeah.
Fire prevention programs, he'll lead with that, and use the 15 in-house fire inspectors to lead that. Community risk reduction programs, he'll cover that. Fire code enforcement, he'll be given that authority. Tech review with staff. He's also going to be our fire investigator. He and I are both attending fire investigation class later this thing to become a certified fire investigator. And then he also does pre-con review with staff. So that's what me, Chief Edwards, and Brent are having to do now, and it's full.
You need a dedicated person to it to
Sure.
ensure that things don't get dropped or things don't get missed, especially, during changes of a building or anything like that.
And also pre-planning. he would come in and he would get with the fire inspectors in-house that are on that day, work with the captain, the shift captain, and say, hey, can I borrow your crew for 2 hours to go pre-plan the Northtown Gardens?
Perfect.
And so that was our vision for that. But we did that in-house to create that team, and now we need a leader.
I'm in support of it, believe me. I'm asking just to make sure that we're looking at future growth, because that seems to be the biggest thing here, that we've, like, we're sitting on a lot of data. And, as you mentioned before, we're at that tipping scale where we can go backwards. Are we really looking at as far, or as quick as Mount Juliet's growing with all these homes,
Yeah, well, it was eye-opening to me. I mean, it told me where our growth and the city's growth were when we didn't gain a single point for what we have done for the fire department.
Yeah.
All that we did was maintain, and I think the desire of this board, and speaking with each one of you, I think the desire is to be better than just maintaining that, is to build on it.
Yeah.
And that's what this budget reflects. In our discussions, sit down, how's the best, most fiscally responsible way to get to where we need to be in the time that we need to be there.
I always go back to, this is liability insurance. We're looking for full coverage. That's really what it boils down to.
Yes, sir.
That's the fire side. I'm sure there's many questions for the other side to this. Do y'all want to ask, or would you like me to go through?
Or do you want to take a break?
Plug through it.
Does anybody need a break? You want to take 5, or you want to keep going? We've only been at this 2 hours and 45 minutes.
So far, the seats just warm, it hadn't got hot.
I will tell you, this budget does reflect a creation of a separate division within the fire department. They'll still be called the Fire Department of Mount Juliet. It'll just be a separate wing. And I've put you you can tell nothing really much has changed in our operational. This person still, these people will still answer in the same format as far as how we answer. The only differences you'll see is there is an EMS chief added in here to oversee the compliance, operations, and certainly keep staffing moving in the right direction, and more or less a subject matter expert in the field. Operating cost, everything from your startup, such as Department of Health, DEA, medical direction, all that goes included. Employee-related items, continuing ed, physicals, PPE, uniform, certainly deals with maintenance and operating supplies, and then certainly our data processing system. I will say in the EMS side of the budget, none of the items in their budget reflect station maintenance. None of that stuff matters at all, because it's all taken care of under the fire and emergency services side of the budget. So you'll see on their operating, it's drastically a little bit lower than say our fire side. The personnel, I know it was mentioned earlier about with Commissioner Trevette said about the widgets. This budget did reflect that as well. We didn't pick 3 ambulances. We did 4 ambulances in the event that one was down for maintenance or out of service, whatever the case may be.
Can I ask a question about personnel?
You can, yes, sir.
Looking at the org chart, Station 1, it's adding 2 bodies. Station 2 adds 1 body, and then Station 3 adds 3 bodies. Am I reading that right?
You'll notice, look towards the bottom. Essentially every single station in the comparison of the fire and the EMS org chart, you're essentially adding 2 personnel per station. They may be called something a little different, as in what we've listed as like a fire medic or a firefighter AEMT. Those numbers should increase just a little bit. You're essentially just adding 2 people per day. And yes, we did shift around numbers to make them more even, as 8, 7, and 7 versus in your org chart on the other was 6, 6, and 4. Just for staffing purposes, we moved one around just to make a more even coverage.
Okay.
But obviously that plays into the day-to-day operations of call outs and vacation time. And so, but the goal for us would be to staff 3 ALS ambulances, as well as have a separate ambulance running in the need for extra calls or convalescent calls that may be. So
I see your fire station 3 is, I see the difference here. You're not showing any AEMTs.
correct. And that'll be, this org chart would be more of a hopeful standpoint that, you know, if I'm able to get more firefighter medics, or I'm able to get, you know, we may have to bypass that and go to an AEMT versus a medic. It just depends on staffing. I will say, same thing as others have mentioned, you know, our pay structure, our benefit package, the city culture, the fire department culture, we didn't have any trouble hiring lots of paramedic firefighters in this last hiring that we just did. So I anticipate we'll get the best of the best.
Would there be room for WEMA if we added this personnel?
Essentially, no, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
I will be very transparent with you when it comes to with this budget. Ambulances are very hard to come by right now. I know that may come as a shock to you with all the things that everybody have said.
I would be surprised if it was any different.
There seems not be a problem of the box that goes on the back. It seems to be a chassis issue.
Of course.
We've talked with several different people in the field, experts in the field. It's already kind of been, some groundwork's been laid. When can I get a hold of ambulances? How can I get a hold of them? That goes back to Commissioner Hefner asked about the leasing and the owning, and there's been lots of different things. Well, if you lease them, you can get them faster. And in the buying, they gotta build them all from scratch, and so lots of that went into as well as cost. But right now, we were hoping to get our hands on them as quick as possible. But I can tell you, it wouldn't be shocking for me or the chief if you didn't see an ambulance for probably 6 to 8 months. So essentially, this budget will be for us to try to get a ball rolling in that direction, if that's the what you see as fit. So just being 100% honest with you, I wouldn't expect an ambulance here on day one. If you even said it today, go live July 1, I would say it's probably not a reality that we could even have an ambulance here.
But we are doing what my grandfather used to call some finagling.
Yeah.
And, you know, the use of used demos, things, anything that we can piecemeal together.
All while maintaining safety.
Yeah,
and the
safety
importance of
and the
that.
attractiveness of it. I mean, it you know.
Wilson County school buses is, you know, they're not an option right now. They can't find school bus drivers. We can probably pick up some students and pick up a couple calls on the way.
We made that offer on the ambulances.
Okay,
and only
just wanna
got
make
one
sure.
vote, so we'll,
What we can do to help out these students, you know, pick up a couple cars. and
Absolutely, but no, I
pick up
mean,
some students on the way.
the reason I tell you that, Commissioners, is because we
Gas
spend
prices.
our days making phone calls, trying to find these things anywhere, in the weeds, wherever. And, because if it does become the desires of this board to pursue an ambulance division within the fire department, we want to be able to do that. And there is, just to cover this real quick, there is a faction of the workforce in emergency services that doesn't want anything to do with fire. They want to work the back of the truck. They got into EMS to stay in EMS. They're not interested in fire. And there's a considerable contingency of those. So hiring is, I think we're going to be ahead of the curve on hiring EMS personnel only. Yes, sir.
The revenue associated with this, the transports,
Yes.
What are you guesstimating on that? And with the fourth being basically a backup anyways, I'm guessing, I'm gonna assume that's gonna be used for part of that?
That's
not?
going to be used for the low-hanging fruit, which is our long-term care facilities, our transfers and
Yeah.
convalescent carries. I mean, that's, like I've said before, that's easy money right there.
Insurance, so.
Right, and we're going to use that to try and offset some of the investment in the 911 service. Did you have a number?
How much is gonna be offset by either insurance or by?
How much you're gonna collect? We anticipate $495, I believe.
Yeah, so if you look underneath where it says charges for service on page 72, it kind of takes you through the formula where we came up with the total. And it was based on, the number of service calls that they had. So it's, they had, roughly 2,777 calls for service. We estimated a $475 charge per call. Estimated a 75% collection rate on that, and then we'll be using a third-party biller, and so they would get probably 5%, so we'll get 95% of that. So that's how
Very
we
good.
came up with the total of the 940.
Um,
And that was based on when they went and talked to other,
Yeah.
cities and what they were doing and what their collection rates were. We just kind of tried to gauge a good estimate.
Staying in line with, there's two other municipalities, that I'd rather not say, but, both of them very similar to our situation. Both of them, said the same thing, you know, they don't, they essentially say their revenue with the same amount of call volume as us is roughly around the $1 million range, so.
Pays for it, so, almost.
Well, the feedback I got is the first year is really ugly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Second year is not as ugly.
unattractive.
And then the third year is, I think when at least the mayor I spoke to, said that, it started kind of breaking even. Of course, I asked him, and I said, if tomorrow, and I don't remember how many years they've been doing it, but
3, sir.
3. He says, if tomorrow, I said, if your board voted to go back to your old way of doing it, and it was a similar model to the same way we're doing right now, the county's doing it. He said, we would all be removed from office very promptly. So it had been a been a tremendous
It's
success.
been-
And you know, the feedback was, I mean, this is not, I don't know how many of you remember back 9, 10, 11 years ago when we first started talking about the fire department. There were several negatives, a lot of feedbacks and redundancy of services and government waste and all kinds of other comments come out about it, and just keep doing what you're doing and don't pursue it yourself. So it wasn't a slam dunk, but you know, now almost, is it October, 10 years?
It'd be 9.
9 years. So it's
September
13.
30th, yes, sir.
So you look at it almost 9 years into it. I mean, who would even float the idea of going back to the old way of doing things with fire protection? I don't think anybody would. And from the conversations I had for them, it's the same situation they wound up in the ambulance because they were able to offer such a better service. And the doubters had since been silenced, I know, in this one community at least. And it's saying that, I guess I gave away my position on where I want to go in the future with this.
I'm glad we're using a third-party billing company.
Oh, yeah.
Is this the same?
The technical expertise
I think
on
it makes the
that
most
is-
sense.
Trust me, that's my background.
We think
Trust me,
that
it's-
makes the most sense for, especially, you know, not to say we're doing it the way everybody else is doing it, but it certainly, the benefits were certainly outweighed what the other end of it.
Yeah, we've heard nothing but success stories from folks from the other places we researched when they use that third-party billing, because you've got somebody that
It's,
wants to reap the revenue as well.
that's a full-time department.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're dealing with,
I love you too
dealing with
much.
auto,
Thank
you're
you.
dealing with all the
Skin
insurance
in the game.
companies.
Yeah.
You need somebody doing that dedicated.
We're still using a third-party biller now?
For
Insurance. We were.
For
at one-
fee recovery? No.
Yeah, fee recoveries.
No, well, yes, we are. We're using for fee recovery. We are.
Is it the same company we're looking at?
Same one we've been with, yeah. They're very, they've been real good to us.
The only other thing that I want to make mention, because I know it was brought up earlier, is lease versus buy. Also, in getting access to the vehicles, the other major component was you're talking an additional $1 million as far as getting the vehicle. As far as leasing vehicles, it's about $240,000 versus buying them outright. You're talking close to $1.3 million.
Right.
So that's another huge significance. And the other positive with that is being able to lease is a 5-year lease. I get new equipment in 5 years, and I'm not stuck with the vehicle.
Yeah.
And these
Just turn it
vehicles,
in.
these vehicles will be road pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked a question earlier about our other
Mhm.
vehicles.
Well,
I mean,
our
it just-
primary objective was to
get a
keep
new
the
one.
startup costs down.
Yeah, we
And
wanna
then
keep
we,
it
then
low.
we
Yeah, I
found the
noticed that.
benefits of leasing is, there are some major components, major pieces of equipment that come with these leases. So we won't have to, one price fits all. And we run them for 5 years and then we get a brand new one. And we also have the option to purchase that one there, so.
Are the maintenance including in that? The
No,
maintenance?
no, maintenance,
No.
we'll be,
You're on your own. We're
we'll
on
be
our own
taking
for
the
that.
maintenance, but we have the ability to do that now in-house.
Yeah. Okay.
Is this being live streamed or recorded?
It's recorded.
Okay. Well, unless the press comes and gets this, I guess this conversation will remain between us.
He came here and got his food and left.
Yeah, he thought it was a meeting, just like Ray did.
Speaking of that,
Absolutely.
he doesn't have access to the paper.
Yeah,
Very
who does he
good,
work
Chief.
for again?
Good job.
The I gotta say, I like this format of just taking a meeting and just sitting down and going through this all in one night. Maybe not waiting to the second. I know we're doing it tonight for other reasons, but maybe we look at that first meeting in May next year as a way to plow through this. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care. I have no preference.
But
This
thank
is-
y'all.
But this is good. This is.
Thanks
good.
for
Yeah.
everybody, continuing to support the fire department. I'm excited about it. I know the chief's excited about it. The men and women that work for us are excited about it. So, that being said, thank y'all.
Thank you very, very much.
Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for supporting our city.
Well, now this.
That's really what it boils down to. You
know
guys are
that
here
we-
for us.
You know that we live in the fire hall there, right? So anytime, if any questions come up after tonight, feel free to pay us a visit. We enjoy that very much.
Well, we saved that $2,000 on the office space down south.
I'm working on that station number 4 too, so you know.
Thank you, yes, because I tell you, one of the things, and I'll be real brief, if after we finish Station 2, we come over here and we do a revamp on this, we
Yeah.
gain nothing.
Yeah.
So that fourth station is gonna be pivotal to get them points down into a good ISO 2, possibly a 1.
What station?
Hmm?
What
Add one on
station?
Golden
Adding
Bear.
one on Golden Bear.
We don't have a station back here,
I
though.
agree with you.
Well, that's coming up too. That's
Yeah.
coming up.
So there's no station back there, so.
Well,
I
I'm
wouldn't even call that a
painting- hey,
station, I call that a cardboard box.
Yeah, well, I'm painting something.
That's
that-
your shed, Kenny. That's your shed, the she shed.
There's people that live in there.
I know, I feel bad for it, believe me, we really want something nice for them, you
Some-
know?
I'm gonna
The-
paint
the-
something back there.
The only
this
other
month.
expectation I'll say is when you put a fire station in, the expectation is at least 15 personnel per 5 per day. So, lots of cities have been caught up in that where they build a building, they buy the trucks, and then they're no good without the people. So our people are the most important part.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Say the best for last?
Sure, we can do that.
It's just warm, it ain't hot.
Say the best for last. He's the one that's gonna ask for the most money, isn't it?
It's all for the rest of them.
That's right. It's their fault.
You gotta support all those,
Every other department here is not.
other departments. They give you the big thick book, right?
The mayor understands the headaches of IT.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know how to fix it. He walks in the office and stuff starts working. It's like, man, I just tried that.
Is that mojo?
Yeah.
Well, mine will be really quick, because unless you want to go deep into this stuff, I'm adding a network administrator position. And we're transitioning to a new VPN. These are the costs, so I can go deeper into it if you want to know more about it. But there's an increase in telephone and circuit costs mainly because of an increase in the number of telephones, cell phones, and personnel, and then also the new building circuits that we're getting. All the new buildings we get have to have something. Increase in software subscription costs, and then the copiers, MFPs, and computers. So that's kind of where the operating expenses have gone, rather than increased. And then the capital side of it, we're replacing some various networking equipment replacements and generator docks for the South Tower site, as well as City Hall, which is, I know you'd asked but it's basically to, we've had in the past where a generator would go down, and we have to roll in a generator, and rather than rolling in cables across the floor, we're gonna hardwire in,
Disconnect.
disconnect so they can roll straight in and just.
Pour a pad so they can just drop it and they can go.
That's correct, yeah.
Perfect. Redundancy.
Yeah.
Speaking of that situation, are we still in a situation where if that particular site goes down, the other one goes offline too? Talk about the radios.
No, I mean, no, the main tower side is, well, I probably shouldn't say all this, but.
Yeah. I was in that situation.
No, we're good, but.
Okay, we have full redundancy.
But this,
Quick question though, while you're talking about the generators, if we were to go down on generator, is there a certain amount of battery backup? And what's that time frame?
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah. So I have 3 hours to do something, and so that's, which brings down the next point. In this, I also have, I have 2 portable small Honda generators that I'm gonna buy a parallel kit for. And with that, I can run anything ugly, but I can run it. The data center here, the South Tower site, any other tower sites I can run. So, and I have those in the back of the truck. So if I'm waiting on Nixon to show up with an actual generator, I can run these things.
Yep.
You mean
I
like
can run
daisy
others.
chain them together?
What's that?
You
Yeah.
could do that?
Oh, yeah.
With generators?
Yeah.
If it's a big enough one, yeah,
As long as
absolutely.
the mice don't chew the wiring harness out.
And we've had that one. But knock on wood, we haven't had that one in a while, so,
Is that just because of because of fuel,
what's that?
how long they run?
Yes.
On the-
So, the generator, depending on which one it is, runs on different fuel types. This one's diesel back here, up there's, LP at South Tower. And we have some natural gas down at those fire stations, but just depends on what's available at that location. And, but yeah, I mean, here, again, I don't like to put out on this how long we can run, but we can run, and, for quite a while,
Yeah.
at different locations, but, and then, security camera additions. So I'm adding some security camera additions too for, mainly at all the, trailheads. We started down that process this year, but the costs went up, significantly. We were doing bids, and the costs were going up so high. So we're gonna do kind of an in-house solution. We're kind of building our own. And so we're testing one right now on the, Town Center Trail, this end of it, near the park. We're just put in a pole a couple weeks ago, and we're gonna put this stuff on it. So we're kind of building our own stuff now instead of trying to do their thing.
Mount Juliet brand.
That's right. So once we get that going, that'll be good. And, but I've got, many more locations for security cameras. And then, that's about it. I mean, like I said, I can go further into it. We've got,
Is everyone gonna be on Office 365?
yeah, they already are. So we don't so, and, we've got a new, for our drone program, we've got a couple of things. So, you know, we get called out for fire and police, drone call outs, and our team flies for them. And so we're trying to get an FAA COA, it's a certificate of authorization that'll allow us to fly at night and those kinds of things, because right now technically we're not supposed to. But we're not supposed to. And so, you know, we kind of do things to, and we can do thermal, you're talking about thermal, we can do
Yes.
that through our drone as well.
Perfect.
And,
Oh.
to look for hotspots in the fire. So we flew with the train derailment.
That's what I always love about great technology.
Yeah, it's like it. So anyway, we're just trying to build that capability up, so.
I have a question.
Certainly.
And we had talked about this before. Can we get those 2 additional speakers added on the very back row? You know, we had, remember?
In this room?
Yeah,
Back here? Oh,
the
yeah.
very back. We had talked about that before.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay.
Probably move some.
Probably move 2 back.
Because there's speakers back there on that back row.
Just move them back a couple.
That back corner. But the thing is, the way this room is designed, if I get too loud in the room, you
Pick
get
it up.
feedback. And it's because this is not designed as a room. It was never intended to be this, you know, so.
But you got microphones
We-
pointing all directions.
Yeah. And so we have this kind of weird room that we're using for commission chambers, which works. But if I bring it up too loud back here, we get feedback up, and y'all yell at me about screaming feedback. So it's
We've
kind
had
of,
that before too.
yeah, and it's a real close line there, you know, that I have to keep it. But yeah, I mean, we can play with it. Maybe I can crank those up the back a little.
Okay.
So quick question, just because you guys know that I brought this up to you in back time. And I was kind of seeing if it was in the budget, but I didn't see it. is there anything that we can do to help, like that, room in there to be more safe and more adequate for you guys, that you guys are working in there? Obviously, that's a small room to be, huh?
Are they in danger?
Well, no, it's just the fact they've got a temporary HVAC unit in there.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? That's just an issue there. Then it's, poor lighting in there when they're trying to work. It's not a safety concern, it's more of I would say good housekeeping. That's the best way I put it.
And that room, and plus it becomes a hangout, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
when it's just the guy working the booth,
It is okay?
it's okay.
Okay, just want to make sure.
But when people start to pile in there, then the room can't hold more than
Yeah.
really two people.
If you cleaned it up, you'd have 20 in there. With the peanut gallery.
Clean up that back area, well, I'd have everybody hanging out.
Yeah.
So that's the hangout room?
That is the hangout room.
That's the hangout room?
That's why we just want to make sure it's got good housekeeping back there.
Is it the
That's
hangout
all.
room just for board meetings, or?
Well, it's where you can go, still keep an eye on everything that's going on, and then not be recognized.
Yeah, called out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come out here and watch out the window.
Yeah.
Do they really?
Yeah, I used to.
Excellent.
Anyway, that's all I have unless you guys have questions.
No.
All right.
Thank you, Trav.
I'm gonna hang out so I can set everything down.
All right, do we have any more business for the workshop?
Unless you have questions for any of the other budgets.
Are we competitive on vacation time?
Yes.
We are competitive? Okay, I just thought I'd ask that, because I know we were talking briefly with the police department.
Vacation, a lot of
Yeah.
vacations.
A lot of vacations.
They get their birthday off. The mayor's supposed to say that.
That's great, okay, just thought I'd ask. Well,
I
thank
get
you
that
guys
right.
for sticking around
They
tonight.
gave us 2 extra holidays.
Two extra holidays, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew about the holidays.
Yeah.
I don't think
What do you
anybody's
guys,
really
what are you
doing
up to
that.
now? 4:30?
30.
Well, including the mayor's birthday, that's 31.
Yeah, January 7th is now a city holiday.
Mayor,
Happy son's birthday.
Mayor Commissioner, I want to take a minute too, and I know y'all feel the same way, to thank Dana and Gina in particular, because we run to them like crazy. Change this, fix that, oh, I forgot this, add that, move this over here. And you saw a little bit of that with the City Beautiful, for example, in there. We moved the codes person from City Beautiful over to police, and then back to the City Beautiful person. A lot of things that used to get done by Public Works gets done by Parks on the right-of-way cutting. But a lot of things used to get done by Public Works, as far as all the landscaping you see in the RTA, all the parks except for Charlie Daniels. And all this landscaping we've got going in at the interstate, which is gonna be vital to maintain and keep it going, because if you don't water it, take care of it, it's gonna die. And we're talking about, I don't know, maybe tens upon tens of thousands of dollars worth of landscaping going up there to make our exit different. City Beautiful takes care of that. So thank you for supporting all these different departments and what they do. There was one thing that we didn't mention, doing a little bit of restructuring in the HR department. We currently have 2 people, and we'll be adding another person to that if it's approved by the commission. And so I appreciate you for that as well.
Where's the vice mayor? You playing ball?
Not sure if he's playing, but
He's
Play.
working on an alternative budget.
Oh, okay, yeah.
that's something we didn't cover, but,
My only,
thank y'all.
it's still head scratching over the Justin Beasley shift to the fire
I
department.
think it's something that makes them, this is gonna seem odd, it's not meant to be, because they can't afford through fire to have their own PIO, sort of like what police does.
Yeah.
They've sort of incorporated him into their family, even though he does
Yeah.
PIO for the whole city.
So does he still report to you?
He
Or-
does.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it would be like
Okay.
a dotted line on the org chart.
It's just like, police have Tyler, so they would have him, so
I
they
got
just
you,
said,
but he still
Justin
reports
is
to-
ours.
He does. And he,
Okay.
and he helps all departments, and I'll give him credit, I know he's out right now on
I got
maternity
you.
leave, but
He
he
just-
is, when you say busy bee, Beasley, he is getting it. I mean, he's Public Works, IT, if they're doing something unique, put another camera up. But I think he got sort of adopted a little bit through the fire department. They got him a helmet and he got him some shirts and stuff. It just makes him feel a little extra special.
How's his wife doing? I know
Really
he's-
well.
She had a baby already?
Baby's like
Yeah, baby's
18
already.
pounds, 21 inches.
Did I miss an email?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he just left you off.
Was it 8 pounds, 10 ounces, something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Brady.
Pretty big.
Come out.
His name's Brady.
What, 20?
It
Yeah,
happened.
21
over-
inches long, yeah.
It was over the weekend. It
Head
happened.
was the
This
biggest
past
part of it.
weekend?
It's all
Friday.
head.
2
Was it
weeks.
Friday?
2 weeks ago.
Maybe.
Oh, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
shocking.
2 weeks ago was what Sheila said.
Exactly.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we mean that in the most
From-
sincere.
Well,
way.
2 weeks from this
Get
Friday.
that on it. Yeah.
The last email
We mean
Oh,
that.
Saturday
the
morning?
last email I got from
Hey, look
him
at me,
was
I'm all nose
an
and ear.
out-of-office
Hey.
reply on the 13th.
Well, he's out of
I think it, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But that's what it was. It's basically,
It's Baby Beasley.
fire department really embraced him, and
How awesome.
they're probably gonna use him as much as anybody at certain times because of fires, car crashes, things of that nature. But
Well, at
yeah,
the end of the
fire
day,
department.
it's part of the city.
I tell you, it's made a big difference too, with
That's
things like
awesome.
getting out, doing all that, sort of dispelling some of the rumors and.
Yes.
all that. He's got such a good bedside manner. I think it's helped tremendously with that. We don't seem to have some of those issues, so he's a good one. We'll be glad to get him back after his maternity leave. And Marty, his wife's doing extremely well. I think they've got somebody coming tomorrow to give him an estimate on putting a generator in his home because of some of the equipment that she has to have should it go down. He needs power, to be running in some shape, form, or fashion,
Wow.
for her. I think she'll be on some breathing apparatus probably for a long period of time, if not permanently. So, therefore, they're even talking about lung transplants, but I think they're trying to fend that off, so.
I don't know if you remember the guys from Vanderbilt, when we were talking to them about ambulance, he made that comment, you'd be shocked to know how many 20 to 30-year-olds are gonna be on the lung transplant list
Yep.
because of COVID.
And I know I said this starting the meeting, and I know that there's not many of us left in the room tonight, and I know everybody that's in the room right now feels this way. Thank you to this commission for giving us the tools and the personnel we need to run a rapidly growing city. I think it's reflected not only in our culture, but in what you see going on in the city, and y'all are involved in behind-the-scenes conversations, not only with us, but with people outside that are wanting to come here. Mount Juliet is a very awesome place. Y'all know that. Sometimes we take it for granted because we're here. I talk to city managers all the time from other cities in Middle Tennessee and beyond, and Mount Juliet is highly recognized and respected. So that comes from complete teamwork.
Going back to the history and the budget numbers we have now, sometimes I look at them and I do like double takes on
Yeah.
some of the numbers, and I know what we're doing is the right thing, and there's some people that could say, hey, Mount Juliet's getting out of control with their spending, and the numbers are just, because if you plotted up some of our numbers on this thing, it really looks like it could take off at times. But I know when I come into the role I'm in now, I knew that we were going to have some things that we had to catch up from the past. So try to keep that into perspective too. I mean, we got a lot of ground to make up,
And to do it at
especially
11
in
cents,
certain
you
areas.
think about that. Find other cities that can run a city on 11-cent property. That just shows you what you're doing is right, no matter what people say about the businesses you've got and the ones they're wanting. We know some of the ones that are coming that they don't know about yet. When we compare the retailers that we've got, and we have to be competitive. I mean, you got Tanger outlets and places like that coming in Antioch, and you got what Publix going at 109. We got to continue to be aggressive and proactive in all that we do. It's the whole kit and caboodle.
And we got a call tomorrow about a big one.
That's right, exactly, so thank y'all very much. Y'all rock.
Thank y'all.
That one's
Yeah.
going over by Cold Bear.
All right, there's some leftover food, so for employees.
If there's nothing else, we'll just go ahead and adjourn if there's no objections. All right. Adjourned.